want you to turn off your cameras right now as we get started for this amazing conversation. And we are live, baby. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with DB. Now, I'm sure most of you all know that in this society, a lot of people dread waking up on Monday because they know there's a full work week ahead of them, and they look forward to Friday right before the weekend. But I must tell each and every one of you that Wednesday is my Friday. Wednesday is my Friday because of Conversations with DB. I look forward to his conversations so much that I got it marked in my calendar. These conversations, they give me life. It awakens me, and I'm growing as a person because of these dialogues. And sometimes I want to, listen in and watch his combos all the time, but I gotta wait a full 7 days. So you know what I do? I go on Dwayne Bryant's YouTube page, and I sit there and I watch all of his videos so I can get some inspiration, so I can get some motivation in my life, and so it could give me hope until the next Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I know Dwayne do not want me to do this. I'm going to embarrass him a little bit right now. So Dwayne, don't get mad at me, don't fire me. But I'm actually going to play one of his videos from YouTube. Dwayne, do not get upset with me, all right?
I'm not gonna promise.
So it gives me inspiration. So I'm going to play this video before we jump into the conversation, all right? And I'm going to play a little clip, all right? So here we go.
Dwayne Bryant.
Dwayne Bryant, Innovision International. Dwayne Bryant, this is someone everyone should know. This is another great speaker, workshop trainer, conference presenter, town hall moderator, TV host, MC, fundraiser, articulate and passionate, youth educator.
I've been a mentee of Mr. Bryant since
That's all y'all get. That's all y'all get for right now. I'm not gonna play anymore because he will get mad at me if I continue playing. So that's all y'all get for right now. But that's one of the videos on YouTube. I'm going to put that link on the Facebook page so you all can watch the entire video, and I encourage you to subscribe and like it as well. All right. So let's jump into this conversation. Let's start talking about what we're about to get into. So I appreciate each and every one of you for jumping on every single Wednesday when we have this, because these conversations are changing lives. So there's a lot of talk about listening to minorities and their struggles in the world. And it is extremely important that we do listen. And at the same time, here at Conversations with DB, we do not want to reside in echo chambers. We want to hear the perspective of our white brothers and sisters, which are a majority of Americans. Now, we want to get a pulse on what they are thinking and feeling during these times, all right? During these times. So we do have a lot of amazing folk on the panel, and I want to do you all a service of actually getting to know who they are before they start the conversation. So I'm going to read off their bios and let you know about the amazing guests that we have coming on to Conversations with DB. All right, so first we have Sarah Crane. She serves as the executive director of the Help Our Wounded Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that helps people who have post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries get access to hyperbaric oxygen therapy. She has held this position since its inception in 2014. Reporting to the board of directors, Sarah has the overall strategic and operational responsibility for the HOW Foundation staff programs expansion and execution of its mission to improve the quality of life for individuals. Oh my God, Sarah Crane, you are amazing.
And hey, Sarah, did you say the word right? Hyperbaric oxygen?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. I'm very impressed because even my dad says hyperbolic, and I'm like, come on. It's so close. So thank you so much for the awesome introduction, and thanks for having me here.
Of course, Sarah, and thank you so much for being here. And we have a lot more amazing guests. We have Marianne Szucs. She is a proud Army veteran working full-time in privatized armed security and a full-time ranger for Muskegon County. I think you are the first ranger that I know. So welcome. Marianne is divorced, is a divorced single mom. Following her passion for law enforcement and keeping communities safe, she plans to attend IMCO's Police Academy in the fall. Marianne grew up in between a gangster Hungarian dad and a redneck from farm-grown native Irish/Irish mom. Marianne backs the blue. She backs the blue. She backs the blue, and definitely no Black Lives Matter. She is an ally and an advocate and will never agree to support white over what's right. She believes it shouldn't be about Black versus white, but wrong versus right. That is Marianne Szucs. Yes, all right. Up next, we have Tawnya Lee. Tawnya Lee is an awesome single mother of 3 boys. She leads by example and has a passion for education. She holds a master's in computer information and a second master's in education. She worked over a decade as a web developer and now works in education, mentoring college students. She's a published fiction author and currently resides near Hot Springs, Arkansas. Not Cold Springs, Hot Springs. She resides near Hot Springs, Arkansas. Up next, we have Charlotte Nelson. Charlotte Nelson is the coolest stay-at-home wife and mother, married to the same man for 35 years. 35 years! Can the church say amen? All right. She has 2 girls and 1 goddaughter and 4 godchildren and 2 grandchildren. All right. Family is particularly important to Charlotte. She treats everyone with respect and is listening and learning from others. She has joined us tonight to share some insight, learn from others, and most importantly, show our viewers that if we have the capacity to see each other's hearts, we can move beyond color. All right.
We can only hope. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome, Charlotte.
Yes. Hi.
Up next, we have Chad Copeland. I'm not sure if Chad Copeland is from Hot Springs or not. He's like, I don't know, but we got somebody from Hot Springs. But we're talking about Chad right now. So Chad Copeland, he is the director of operations for a flight school in Titusville, Florida. So he's not from Hot Springs, but he is the director of operations for a flight school. That's amazing. Hopefully he take me on a plane soon. We're going to talk about this later, Chad. So he is happily married and has 3 wonderful children, 3 spoiled dogs, and 1 mean snapping turtle. Don't put your finger in that turtle because it will bite you. All right. So he's one of our American heroes, and I've served his country well. Chad has been a soldier most of his adult life. He retired in 2014 after 23 years of high adventure all over the world. Chad is a bad A, swiggly line. Chad is a badass, all right? He flew AH-64 and UH-60 helicopters for most of that time. Not only, listen to this, not only is Chad a soldier, he is also a scholar, right? He earning his master's degree in international aviation management from Embry-Riddle, oh God help your son, our technical university. You gotta correct me on that later. All right, get ready for it. Chad is also, listen up, Chad is also a registered Republican. He and Dwayne has had some heated conversation where they didn't always agree. However, they have always been respectful. Thank you, Chad. Thank you for joining us. We have Dana Stevens, or Dana Stevens. You let me know if I'm saying it right. In March of 1994, Dana Stevens encountered a violent beating from 5 young Black men on Chicago's West Side. Their words, welcome to racism. Cut so deep, not only did it change his course of life, but became the motivation to empower youth and young adults living in underserved communities. Under Stephen's leadership, he created a Youth with a Purpose after-school program and started his own nonprofit, One Love. I wonder if you got that from Bob Marley. Let me know if you got that from Bob Marley. His mentoring program is an official vendor of Chicago public schools. His dedication to the youth earned him the Spirit of Rogers Park Award for Youth Leadership from the City of Chicago and the Guardian of the Future Award from Inspired Partnerships and the Richard H. Darius Foundation. Perhaps the coolest thing about Dana that most people don't know is he has gained the trust and respect of a global icon in racial justice, Mama Elliott, also known as Jane Elliott. Listen, you gotta connect us with Jane Elliott up in here. Okay. All right,
She's a cool lady.
Aren't the bios amazing so far? Listen up, Facebook family. As I'm reading these bios and you're listening, I encourage you to share this video right now. Share this video with your friends and family because this conversation is extremely important as we step away from our echo chambers and we step into a place where we can engage in a free marketplace of ideas. All right, so up next we have Julie Long. So Julie Long is bold and sassy with a servant's heart. Julie Long has a deep passion for helping others rise to their best. As a Kansas farm girl and an advertising professional, Julie uses her strategic marketing skills to help her food and agricultural clients grow their business to help feed the world, make it a better place. Julie also is a coach and mentor. She loves helping people view a situation from another angle to create a paradigm shift that leads to that aha moment of growth. Julie earned dual degrees in journalism and history from Kansas State University, but her studies didn't end there. Julie remains insatiably curious and is a lifelong learner. Welcome, Julie. We appreciate you coming on. Up next, we have Laura Poe. What's up, Laura Poe? Laura Poe, Hoosier by birth, Buckeye by choice. Laura is an avid reader, a frustrated writer, avid music fan, and musician. She is happiest when she's creating beauty in some form. Her greatest passion is people and what motivates us. Laura believes that if we don't learn from our past mistakes, we are doomed to repeat them. Her mission, to leave this world better than how she found it. With her big heart, something she tells me she will do just that. Welcome, Laura Poe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And last, but certainly not least, as a matter of fact, we have no least, Laura Clyburn. Laura Clyburn
Layne
is an impact, all right? She is an impact. She is, Layne Clyburn. Layne Clyburn. She is a lover. She is a single mom to two beautiful daughters and a stepson whom she loves with all her heart. Layne's intention is to touch people's lives and leave them better than she found them. Welcome everyone to the virtual stage of Conversations with DB. And you already know who DB is, who Dwayne Bryant is. He needs no introduction. He is the founder and CEO of Inner Vision International. He is an amazing individual who will be leading this conversation. I'm just little old Jeff Noel, who's going to be on Facebook with you all. I'm going to be grabbing your comments from Facebook and I'll bring it onto Zoom so I can ask it so Dwayne and everyone else can answer your questions live. So I'd love to first bring to the stage Mr. Dwayne Bryant.
Jefferson!
Yo, how are you, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing fantastic. Listen, I would stand up, but then you won't see me. That was fantastic, man. How you doing
stand
today?
Up, you're going to see my shorts.
Trust me, I understand. Every time you do one of these introductions, I get calls from people like, yo, who is that dude? Do you mind if he does the hosting for my stuff? I'm like, I don't want to share it, but I always give you information because I cannot keep all of that energy to myself. Man, I appreciate that. And I think everybody appreciates your introduction today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. And so I'm about to go dark, and I'm going to jump on Facebook and grab those comments and start engaging with the people. And so the floor is yours. Okay, that sounds good. It looks like Layne may have disappeared, so she might come back sooner or later. So I said Lauren, I said her name wrong. She said, I'm not invited. Yeah, you might be right about that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you all for having this conversation, for coming on. I know some people were nervous. I know some people were excited. So I'm just curious. I want to do a quick pulse check. How are you guys feeling tonight? We're good. Good? Good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Excellent. I think Layne may have dropped off for real. So hopefully she'll. Is she there?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see her. I don't know why I don't see her. Okay, so I am going to make an unfair request of everybody tonight. And that unfair request is tonight, even though it's just 8 or 9 of us, but the unfair request is for you to speak for the broad spectrum of white America. That means there may be some conversations that we may be having that someone else's voice may not think the same way we're speaking, whether it's to the far left or to the far right. And I want you to be able to give them a voice because we want everyone to be heard. We want to be able to listen to everyone. So that's the first unfair request. The second thing is I want to make sure that we're ready to have some real conversations and real dialogue. Now, I know a couple of y'all making me nervous already because I know you know nothing but real. However, I want to make sure that everyone on here, that we keep it 100% real. And the last thing is just a few house rules. One, we don't have to all agree with the same things. As a matter of fact, if we all agreed, it would be very boring. Number two, I want us to make sure we're listening to each other. So if everyone is talking at one time, be mindful that we give one person the microphone. Number three, to try to understand what the other person is saying. If we agree or we disagree, but at least if we can get some level of understanding, I think that will give people power who are watching this beyond us right here on the Zoom call, that they may have the courage to have these conversations. I got a call maybe about a week ago from a corporation, and at this particular company, some of the employees, like black and white, they're not getting along because of the whole George Floyd thing. And the black employees are like, yo, I'm upset right now. I don't want business as usual. I don't want to just act as though nothing is happening and you guys are coming in and saying, hey, have a great day. And George Floyd may have looked like my uncle. And so what's happening is companies all around the country are beginning to understand, like, yo, something is going on that we need to be kind of keeping a pulse check on our employees, because if productivity drops, if there's animosity within the rank, then that's not going to be good in the corporate structure. So I want us to be able to have a safe conversation here and also give those companies and those individuals the power and the courage to also have safe conversations without feeling like you're going to be called a racist, or without feeling like, you're going to burn the place down or whatever it may be. So I want us to be there. And the last thing is, and I know we're going to do this already, is that we're just going to have respect. And I'll let you know now, the reason why I selected each one of you all from my Facebook group of friends is that throughout the years, I've literally personally contacted and had conversations with each and every one of you. Some of you, we've had arguments, we've had disagreements, but it's always come back to a place of respect. And I think that's what's necessary. And I think that's needed now in this country more than ever before. It is okay to disagree. I disagree with my own mama, but we don't go to war against each other. We don't have civil wars where we're trying to kill each other, which is absolutely insane. So let's get started. I'm going to throw the first question out. I'm going to throw it to Chad and Marianne, but anyone can jump in. The first question is, what does Make America Great mean to you? And if you're not sure, what does it mean to your friends or family? So Chad, you start us off.
Well, I can start by telling you, I wasn't consulted by the Trump campaign for that slogan. All right. I spent 23 years in the military, 16 different countries, 4 different combat zones. And I can tell you right now, America is one of the greatest countries in the world. And I've never been ashamed of being an American. And I've always been proud to wear that flag. And so I don't really think that was the greatest choice of slogans. However, I think that now you said represent the people that look like me, is that, maybe we compromised too much. Maybe we didn't act like a superpower. Maybe we should have not taken so much from other countries that don't share our values and things of that nature, because it was easier that way. And that to make America great again, we need to be tougher on the folks that are against us instead of just doing what's the easy route to get along.
Nice. Well, let me ask you this question. I see you, Marianne. I know you're coming. So, and this is amazing how we talk to each other. I have never thought about that in the slogan, Make America Great, like literally ever. When I heard Make America Great, I went back immediately to the times when the American economy was booming during the time of slavery and things of that nature. I'm like, whoa, so if America is great, that means, do you want to bring back slavery? Do you want to bring back this racist world? But you're saying something very different, which is the first time literally I've heard that. So thank you for that explanation, which is very different than the conversation I have with my circles. Anything else, Chad, you want to add about that?
No, like you said speak the truth. And from my optic, I look internationally, and from my experience, that's what I'm thinking of as America as a superpower, and not as domestically as probably you might be thinking.
Ah, interesting. So when you're saying America great, you're talking about on a global level. We're not talking about the sins of the past. Got that. Marianne, did you have anything?
Completely different from Chad. I served in peacetime. So, we did a whole lot of nothing, but I commend him for his service and I thank him for it. But on the Make America Great Again slogan, I heard Make America White Again. I heard bring back slavery. I heard bring back the chains. I heard ship everybody back to Africa or Mexico or wherever. I heard lock it down, shut it down, whiten it up. And you'll never get me to disagree with that. Like, I like his explanation, but I don't believe that as a whole is what people that look like me are thinking when they see that. And I'm not picking on Trump. Don't nobody send no Clintons after me. I'm just saying, like, what I heard with that is, them Americans with the KKK instead of a C. You know what I mean? Like them good old boys that, shot down Ahmaud Arbery. You know what I mean? That kind of person is supporting that slogan. Therefore, I disassociate with it, like I do the Confederate flag and everything else. So to me, you can't make America great again when it ain't been great for everybody, not one time.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else want to jump in?
To piggyback on my sister there, I look at the Willie Lynch letters. And in the Willie Lynch letters, it was taught to slave masters that if they did these certain things, it would tear down the strength of the Black slave. And he said that if you do this and you do this, you will control them for a good 300 years. Well, when I look over the past 100 years, we will see that our Black brothers and sisters have stopped remaining so silent in the abuse that they have received. And so when I think about Make America Great Again, I think that we need to, or what white America is doing, is to get back to the beginning of what the Willie Lynch letters taught us in how to get our Black people to shut up and to submit and do what they did when we had that absolute power. Because see, before Willie Lynch came, the slaves were rebelling, and the slave masters and owners were losing crop because they were rebelling. So he taught them on these principles, and I'm not going to get into that, how to mentally and physically, socially and economically, and in all of the social systems in this country, control Blacks
to break them down.
Our slave.
Got it. So that's your thought. Now, Chad, when you hear that, what do you think? So let's say we have your train of thought, we have Marianne's train of thought, we have Dana's train of thought. Their train of thought is kind of consistent. Yours is very different. When you hear that, what is your first reaction to it, or do you have a reaction to that?
No, I do, and I respect and appreciate their viewpoints on it, and it's very real, obviously. But for me, it's like, what are you afraid of? When you hear that, it's like, what does it inspire you to be afraid of? And obviously, those things are the things that stir you the most. From my viewpoint and from my experience, my biggest fear is another 9/11, another Benghazi. Another group of international terrorists that take advantage of America because they see us as we have a weakness, and that we're afraid to strike back because we don't tolerate that kind of stuff. We're supposed to be the adult of the nations, and so that's what I think of. And I totally understand how you could feel the way you do, but again, I think it's your personal. What are you afraid of? And I'm afraid of the next 9/11. I'm afraid of not looking strong enough that China or North Korea or somebody like that thinks, hey, we can take a swing at you and get away with it. We can't do that.
That's interesting. So
we're not going to tolerate it because America is a strong nation. And that's what I think of when I hear make America great again. But I totally respect and understand how you could see it the way you do about making America white again. And again, I've seen enough and heard enough that, it's a real concern. But just for me personally, that's not what I see when I hear that slogan.
Yeah, no, I got you. Your thoughts are global, from a global power, that we don't get attacked, that other friends or enemies may see us as weak. All right, next question. Thank you guys very much. And anyone feel free to jump in. We hear a lot about white privilege, and I hear some people saying, what is that? I don't have white privilege. I don't have $1,000 in the bank. What is white privilege? So my next question is, what does it mean to be white in America? Is there such a thing as white privilege? Is that a real thing, or is that something that Black folk made up because we lazy, don't want to work? Or is white privilege something very real? So anyone who wants to take it, I know Julie's probably biting at the chunks over there.
I think it is absolutely a real thing. And some friends and I were talking about this the other day of when white people step into Black spaces, it's a different feeling. It's a different vibe. You're conscious. You're aware that this is not your culture necessarily. This is not your space. It's not made for you. And we kind of talked about that and got around to, we don't really realize that as white people because all the spaces in this country were built for us. We don't have a concept of this is not where I belong because the entire country is built for us to belong. And privilege to white people, when you say privilege, we think of it as money. We think of it as advantage. Well, we were born with rich. We had to work for what we have. I'm not privileged, but that's if they've never been with any Black person where they've been out and been stopped by the police and seen the white terror. Their face goes pale, the terror, the sweat, because they don't know if they're going to die in the next 5 minutes. And if I'm pulled over, it's like, yeah, here's my license. Yep, sorry, I was speeding. Here's my ticket. Nice day, and I'm on my way. And that's a huge difference. And that is because of the color of my skin. That is absolute privilege.
So you're saying white privilege is not just about money and economics and having $1 million in your bank account. It could be something as easy as driving to the store without fear that if you see blue lights, you may not make it back home.
It is that I have never had any challenges because of the color of my skin. Walking while Black, driving while Black, everything that we talk about that you have to be more careful of, I can relate to in some ways because I'm a woman. But when you say privilege to a white person, they take it as economic privilege. You were born with economic privileges. White, the color of your skin, that privilege never pops into our head until we have to learn that.
Interesting. I see a lot of Laura. Anyone feel free to jump in.
I've actually got a story, and it's funny that she mentioned the whole police thing and being pulled over, because my boyfriend is Black and he's dark skinned, which is an added issue. And one night we were out and
you know about the complexions, Laura?
Huh?
You know about the different complexions?
Know about the different complexions.
There's levels to that.
But yeah, there's definitely levels. And he's a big, strong, athletic looking guy. So he's automatically a target for some people. And we were driving in my car and we pulled up to where we were going. We were going to a bar to sing karaoke and one of my headlights was out. I didn't know the headlight was out. He absolutely was in terror. I mean, the strongest man that I know was scared and he looked at me, he says, "You're going to get me killed." Because we're in Dayton, Ohio. And I'm driving in a car with a white girl with a headlight out. So that's automatically, and if they see him, they're going to pull us over. And he's like, "You're going to get me killed." For me, and I'm just like, well, it's no big deal. I'll just get my car, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'll go get that fixed tomorrow. But, that's what.
How did that make you feel? Because to you, it's the tail light, dude. You shouldn't be worried about that. What's the big deal? But Black people, we know clearly there's been many, you had a broken tail light, you didn't signal, you did this, you did that. I mean, we can go on, and we've even complied and still got killed. Did you think he was making something up when you said it? Did you?
No, that's when it clicked for me. That was when, I saw the look on his face and I knew how scared he really was. It wasn't, a made up fear. It was genuine. And it was just like, oh my God, you're right. I'm so thankful that he's patient with me and it takes his time to educate me on these things that I've never had to even deal with because I'm from a small town. I always say I'm from hillbilly clan land, but
so are you hillbilly clan land?
I'm from Indiana.
You from hillbilly clan land?
I'm from hillbilly clan land. That's like Clan Central.
Okay, so let's back up a minute. How did you grow up? And did you grow up with liberal white folk? Did you grow up with the Klan white folk? Because now you're living a life that's very different, I'm assuming, than how you grew up. So how did that happen?
I'm lucky in that my parents never influenced me one way or the other, but I did go to a small school. We had 2 Black families. There was 500 people total in my high school, and there were 2 Black families, and that was it.
So 0.01%.
Exactly. So, I really didn't have a lot of exposure to Black people until after I got out of high school. It was just.
So how did you go from no exposure to big Black exposure?
Well, it's weird because I've always known, I was able to make up my own mind.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird to say that I've always been attracted to tall, dark, and handsome. So can't get any more tall, dark, and handsome than that.
Okay. Anybody else white privilege?
We've had a conversation with a couple of my friends where they're like, "Oh, I've worked all my life. I didn't come from money. I lived in a trailer park, blah, blah, blah." That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the things that you did. Your skin was not one of the things you had to get around. Period. Your skin did not stop you from getting that job that you worked so hard at to make your money. Me, the first time I ever had my skin stop me from anything, I'm a 40-year-old white woman out of shape, didn't even wear my teeth to the interview. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not top of the line. I'm not checking any boxes for them.
Wait, you said you didn't do what to the interview?
I didn't even wear my teeth. I don't got them in right now. I'm not playing. I'm not playing. And they picked 4 people that were younger, faster, had already had their college degree, and some of them were Black, some of them were Asian, some of them were Mexican. They checked them boxes of the variety that they wanted for that city position. So it really didn't have nothing to do with me being white. It's because I'm old, I'm out of shape, and I didn't have as much education on my resume. So it really even wasn't about me being white. I don't know. Like, it's not about what you went through, where you came from, or how hard you had to work and all that. It's about the fact that your white skin was not one of the things that stopped you from getting that spot. It didn't stop you from that job. It didn't stop you from getting that car loan. It didn't stop you from buying that house. It didn't stop you from even making an appointment to go look at that house. You see what I'm saying?
But even before that, what about redlining? That doesn't even allow a Black person to look at homes in certain communities and suburbs. And redlining is still happening to this day.
Yes, it is.
So then I'm hearing white privilege is not about economics. I think Julie just said that, and many people feel as though I'm not rich. I have to go to work every day. What privilege do I have? And I'm also hearing that white privilege is just your skin. It's almost like a passport. You get a passport that you don't have to deal with certain levels of drama that I may have to deal with or prove myself or go over and above ground of where the white person may not even have to do that. I read somewhere that even talked about resumes. They did an experiment where the same, is that the big black guy, Laura, behind you? Get a big black guy to come on in and say hello.
That's Charles.
What up, Charles?
Hey, Charles. How you doing,
Hey,
Charles?
Charles.
We was talking about you, Charles.
Oh, it's all true.
It's all true.
It's all true.
I believe it.
That's hilarious. I forgot what I was getting ready to say. Doggone it, y'all threw me off. Sorry about that. So
let me give an example here. So when Laura was pulled over, I'm curious, Laura, did the officer ask if you were okay?
I was never pulled over.
Oh, you were just saying that you had your headlight out.
Yeah, it was a potential. But I did have a friend who his wife was driving him to work, and an officer pulled her over to make sure she wasn't being kidnapped.
Same. I had that happen with my son's father.
Yep.
Dwayne, that is white privilege and I've had it happen on a date too. When we're pulled over and the police come to the passenger side or they come to the woman and say, hey, are you okay? I just want to make sure you're okay.
So in other words, because you're in the car with a black man, he may be arresting you, trying to rape you or something.
Kidnapping, carjacking.
I had my youth group in Rogers Park, which is the north side of Chicagoland. And, at night I would bring some of the young men home. And it was
you don't still do that, do you, Dana?
No, that was way back in the early 90s.
We're in a different time.
We're in a way different time. But, I'd have 5 guys in there and I would drive them to a certain spot and I would let them all off closer to their home. And repeatedly, I would be pulled over and the cop, would ask and have me come out and then ask me, now you can tell me the truth. Why are these guys in your car with you? Did they force themselves? Are they doing something? Do you need us to intervene here?
That's amazing. Why didn't they ask you if you were a drug dealer? That's what I was thinking.
Right.
That was probably the second, or when the gospel music was playing, that was enough to think that I was being kidnapped. I don't know.
We have, my best friend is a 6'4", 230-pound black male who happens to be a cop. And he is also one of my wrestling coaches with me. And he will take home any of our kids. It doesn't matter if they're boys, girls, white, black, Mexican, mixed in between. And we have tournaments that are out of town. They're hours away. We have hotel rooms that we get into. And he always gets that look like, what is this big, huge black dude doing with this little white kid and stuff like that? And, that's just Coach Al. He's okay. It's okay because he's him, but not okay if he was just some random other person that they've never met at the wrestling circuit. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this though, should it be okay for him to be questioned? Because let's say the community, child trafficking exists, kidnapping does exist. It looks a little odd for a big black dude to be.
But put it into perspective, DB, we are at a wrestling tournament where the entire hotel is booked with our wrestling families. There is no outsiders whatsoever. So the fact that one of my coaches happens to be black and cannot walk in with one of my white wrestlers, that is bull. And the fact that he's a cop who has to prove who he is all the time. He's one of the people out there trying to make that community that about to stop stuff that you got going on. He's one of the people that do that every day, all day in real life. He is a mentor. He is a big brother. He is a confidant. He is somebody they go to when they're hurt physically or emotionally. He just makes everything better at any school he goes to. And we got wrestlers from other teams that come to our team because of him. Because of how great.
In other words, he's the one that would be the savior for the day, not the kidnapper, but he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. He gets the doubt.
No, because he's a 25-year-old big ass black man, and then that's all they see. And this is, I understand, like, if you're in a situation where maybe, I don't know, they mess around a lot. Okay, so we're at a park and we're playing like paintball or whatever. Say he just tackles one of them to the ground and like drags them off screaming into the woods. And okay, it's all in fun, but them big farm grown white dudes that run the paintball thing are looking at him like, what's going on? Is he gonna rape that kid or whatever? Like, come on. Like, that's the shit I'm talking. I'm sorry. That's what I'm talking about though.
And DB,
like, if it was my white coach who's, you know, about 120 pounds soaking wet and blonde hair, blue eyes, nobody looks at him twice, but he's the one that looks like a freaking pedophile. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
So okay. DB, piggybacking on that, I was pulled over. I should have been questioning whether or not I was doing something inappropriate with these young men, because there are thousands of clergy,
I agree,
white men who have been hiding or have been overlooked with their sexual inappropriateness with young men. So I should have fit that stereotype. I'm a clergy from a church that was taking 5, 6 young men to their home. They should have been saying, arrest this man and let's talk to these boys.
Yeah.
See, white privilege and racism doesn't say that there's more white priests that have been found guilty of sexual, molestation than a black man for sex trafficking.
Yep.
Absolutely. And actually there's some statistics came out about thousands, how many priests have been guilty of sexually molesting young boys. That's a different conversation, but I appreciate you bringing that up, which takes us to the next subject. Let's talk race relations. Do you guys think racism exists? Now, I have not heard from Tawnya yet. I have not heard from my friend Charlotte or Sarah Crane. So unmute yourself and let's talk about it. Do you think racism still exists, or did racism end because we had the first black president?
I think it definitely exists. There's no way you can say it doesn't. Having Barack Obama was great. In my opinion, he was probably the best president in my lifetime.
Chad, don't roll out the chair, Chad.
I'm going to say that in my opinion, he was probably, he walked into a huge mess. The man, we all know that to even be labeled an okay president as a black man, he would have had to do twice as good of a job as a white man. But it gave you hope, but it was still there. And you only have to look at representation in movies and TV and, all of that in the media. And the simple fact of the matter is, there's still police brutality. That against black men, black people. And you can't deny that racism exists.
Okay, Chad, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it exists, and it's and again, I'm probably a lot different exposure than most of you to minorities in my life, because in the military it's a little bit different. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but when you put your life in another person's hands, it takes it to another level of respect, and you really don't care what color they are anymore. And I kind of got used to that. And when I had an interview when I was as my job now, and I had a young black man come in, and he sat there across from us, and he had tattoos, and it just didn't occur to me. And so we interviewed him, and we ended up offering him the job as one of our customer service representatives. And he comes to me, he goes, "I can't believe you guys did that." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Well, there's 3 white people that are interviewing me. Why would you possibly hire me?" I said, "You're employee of the month at Home Depot for 2 months in a row." I said, "You speak well, people like you." He goes, "Yeah, but I'm black and I have tattoos." I'm like,
you didn't tell him he's articulate, did you, Chad?
No, I did. He spoke extremely well. He did. He just expressed himself in a way that was very sincere. And I'm like, "Okay, that's great." I said, maybe wear some long sleeves so you don't make people uncomfortable until they get to know you. But I said, "You got the job. That's great." Now, here's the part I'm less proud of. So because of what's happened over the last 6 months, I would say racial tension has increased, not decreased. And so we have a secure facility at the airport. And so somebody rings the bell, they want to come in. They come to my office and say, hey, Chad, you mind getting the door? I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm the director of operations. Answering the door is really not my job, but I don't mind. I'll do it. And so I go to the door, and on the other side of the door is a 6'5", about 280-pound black man. And I got to tell you, for the first time in my life, I'm a little nervous. Why is he here? Is he mad at me? Is this one of those opportunities where something's going to happen because of what's going on right now? I still open the door and say, how can I help you? Turns out he's a chief pilot for another airline. He was looking for work as an airline pilot. I invited him in and introduced him. For a moment, I was like, wow. But I was nervous because I'm seeing a giant black man. I'm a big guy. I'm like, is this guy here because he's mad?
How tall are you, Chad?
6'3".
How many pounds are you?
220.
Oh man, you could take him out. Shoot.
That was why they called me. Because they saw who he was on camera. I'm the biggest guy in the office, so would you mind going and seeing what he wants? And I was happy, and I would actually like to have him come on as one of our chief pilots. But my initial impression was, is this somebody who's angry at me over the last 6 months? 6 months ago, that would never occur to me.
So let's talk about, since we're there, let's talk about the climate that we're in, because I keep hearing about race wars. There are people. I don't think Black people want a race war. I sincerely don't. I mean, one, it would be kind of dumb because we would be outgunned, no question about it. I mean, who wants a war where you have 1/10 of the bullets and 1/5 of the firepower? It just sounds like suicide to me. So white people, if you're out there, Klans, neo-Nazis, we don't want a race war. We just want to be left alone or equality. That's all we want, all right? So
can I interrupt you right there, DB? Can I interrupt you for a second? What you're saying is that Black people don't want a race war. And you're telling the Klan and them, never mind, y'all are outgunning us. No, they're not. Because you have all the white people like me on your side. And guess what? I got a basement full of ammo. They're not outgunning nobody.
Oh, wait, time out. Rewind. So time out. So you saying Black folk got some white allies who will fight with us? Because I know we hear the corporations saying,
look, we will be locked and loaded and leading the front line. Y'all can sit back in the lawn chairs and crack a beer. You see what I'm saying? We got this for you. You ain't got to do the dirty work this time.
And you know what, DB? I've got a lot of powerful men in my neighborhood that society calls them worthless gang members and thugs. But I tell you what, there's some powerful people there. And white USA will be in big trouble if our gangs started to get together and utilize their wisdom and their intelligence and how they run our neighborhoods. They show up and show out. Trust me.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Charlotte.
Yes.
Charlotte is talking.
Yes, I know. I'm coming from a whole different point of view because I have a lot of Black friends, and I've not been in no situation that none of y'all have been in.
Where you from, Charlotte?
Where am I from? Hilliard, Florida.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, we live in a very small town, very small, and I guess it's equal. My elementary school, we've had the same friends all the way to high school. We graduated. We done football games together. We had our grandchildren together. Our grandchildren are going to school together. We are very close knit, all of us. I'm not stupid. I know they have issues, but at the same time, we can go into a grocery store and still greet each other, even with the division going on with the TV and the hate. Mm-hmm. We still have respect for each other in our town. We haven't lost that, and I hope we never do. And I mean, I know, honestly, I haven't been in a bad situation, no way around. So I can only speak from the good.
So that's interesting because you're in North Florida, where I think Rosewood was in North Florida, and there are a lot of.
I live on the Georgia line, and I understand, the deep South. I understand that, and I have lived where. I mean, I'm trying to put it in a positive way. I mean, I understand that there is racism out there. I don't agree with it. So if I find somebody is in that situation, I try to step away from it. Why would I want to put myself in a situation that I know I'm not going to agree with? So why would I ally myself with the friends that are not going to be in my belief or my way? I mean, I just, I don't agree with it. So don't put myself in that situation.
So let me ask you a question. And I think Marianne is probably going to chime in too. In terms of racist behavior, Marianne is saying, chill out on the back porch. Let me come out here and lock and load and take care of this for you. You're saying, if I see racism, I don't want to be a part of it, so I'm just going to leave. Do white people have a responsibility when other white people are being racist? And if they do,
definitely
speak up for it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. I don't just walk away from it, but I will speak up for it. I'm like, why would you treat someone that way? Why would you say that word? Why would you go there? Why would you, you know? But then after a while, I mean, I'm not going to hang with you if that's how you're going to stay. You know, I'm trying to make myself clear.
You're saying that you're saying that you're going to cut people off from being in your
Thank
life.
you. Exactly. Yeah. I'm not going to, you know, I will speak up for anybody that's getting, if you're being beaten down or if you're the little one and everybody's picking on you, I'm there for you. I'm going to be there to back you up. But then I'm going to leave that situation alone because I don't need to be in that situation.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, you understand, I mean, I'm trying to make it clear. I mean, like I said, I have my black friends or my other friends. I've had plenty of friends that are all races and religions and different relationships. And I accept everybody for who they are. And I try to keep, you know, I try to be fair. Mm-hmm. I just, you know everybody's talking about, you know, going to war and all this. And I'm thinking, my gosh, can we just find a heart to see something good in each other?
Absolutely.
I mean, I understand that once you start seeing bad in people, you start staying, you keep going with the bad. Directly, you don't even feel the good no more. Mm-hmm. Just start trying to see that good. And if you can just do one positive thing and one good thing and just keep that flow going, directly you see a lot of goodness. I mean, there's a black guy, he's big, he's older. He always asks me, first thing he asks me is when I'm at the grocery store, he says, do you know Jesus? And I say, yes. He says, well, let me load your groceries for you. And he'll load my groceries for me. And he does that with everybody. And he picks up and he just does it for free. He don't want no money. He just wants to know, do you love Jesus? And let me help you.
Well, would he pick up your groceries if you didn't know Jesus? I'm just curious.
I've never told him no because I'm scared to find out the answer.
If you told him no, most likely he'd just try to help you out understanding
like it. He would probably try to lead me to Jesus. Exactly.
Yeah.
Got it. Sarah, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to jump back in on the original question. I'm the kind of person that likes to sit back and kind of mull and digest and sort of go over things. So I had a couple thoughts as we were talking, and the first is, you know, you asked, does racism still exist? And I think, you know, it definitely does. I think, you know, a lot of things in our society, they ebb and flow. And I think racism is one of those things where it got quieter. But now with the current administration, I feel like racist people have become emboldened to really come out and speak what's on their mind. And so the thing about it for me is that Make America Great has shifted. That meaning, I think, you know, when it was first proposed as a presidential slogan before racism was sort of emboldened, meant one thing completely different than it does now. And I think, you know, to me, it's changed its meaning. I never heard, you know, what Dana and Marianne were saying. I didn't even really hear what Chad said. I took the words at face value, you know, Make America Great. And if you just look at like those words together, like who wouldn't agree with like, we want a great country? But, you know, as this administration's progressed, I've heard the underlying meaning and the subtexts. And I've tended to think of it more now as what Dana and Marianne were saying, as Make America White Again. And so, you know, I think that Make America Great in, you know, 4 years ago is different from what it means now. And
but
also,
I want to make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying when President Trump first came out with the slogan, you were for it. Yeah, we should make America great. Who would not want to make America great if you're American? And then 4 years later, you're saying, I don't know if it means the same thing that I was celebrating then. Is that what you're saying? And what do you think is the difference in those 3.5, 4 years?
I think there might have been people who were like, rah, rah, make America great. I was never one of them. But, you know, from looking at the rallies and like watching the footage on election night and things like that, like it did seem to speak to the people who are deeply patriotic, who wanted to say, yes, I want a great country. Yes, I believe in that. Like, and we're yelling it from the rooftops. They might not be racist people, they might not mean the same thing that it's now come to mean, which is more of the make America white again, you know, have a dominant superior race kind of thing, which is really scary and disturbing. But, you know, I do think that there has been a shift, and the people who brandish make America great might not be the same audience. They're probably a much smaller subset than the people who sort of brandish that phrase at the very beginning of the election cycle. I don't know.
What do you think about that, Chad? Do you think it's changed from the original folk to now, or do you think people?
It's hard to say because of what we're seeing in the cities with the most violence in the way these things are going. And I don't know if anyone else here has ever been to war. It's not a pleasant thing. You don't want to do it. And who has the most guns and who doesn't have the most guns? It really doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to start another civil war because you're unsatisfied with the results of the last civil war. How ridiculous does that sound? Surely we're a good enough country. We've got enough intellectual people that we don't need to do that. I mean, I understand the demonstrations. I don't understand the violence. I respect what folks are trying to do to make things better. But from my seat as, you know, just your basic white guy, it looks like race relations are getting worse because it's either you're with us or you're against us, and it's not being united. It's just more insanity. It's like, well, if you're one or the other, we're going to have violence and we're going to, you know, do these things. And it's not the direction that the country needs to head. We need to do more things to promote unity in less things to promote the division. And the violence and all the things I've seen are just promoting the division.
So really quickly, I know Tawnya, someone's getting ready to jump in. Really quickly, do you advocate for another civil war?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So I don't want to ever take arms up against anyone ever again. And I'm as well armed as the next man. I was a competitive shooter for 10 years. Yeah, I'm saying I've got the ability to do it, and I've got the wisdom to know that's the last thing you ever want to do because it's something you just can't take back.
Interesting. So you're saying people who really know war do not want a civil war, but the people who want to be gung ho, make America great, or whatever it is, they're talking the love of something that they really don't know anything about, but it feels good. So then let me ask you this question: with the Confederate signs and the Confederate statues, and the fact that the Confederates lost the war, do you think they should have statues up all over the country, or is that just something negative for the country? What do you think about the statues?
I get mixed emotions about that. I understand the folks wanting to retain some of the history, and that up to now it really hasn't bothered anyone, but I understand how it would bother folks. And I don't have a way one way or the other. The thing is the amount of energy and time that we spend on these inanimate objects. Surely could we possibly spend more time on worrying about something besides a statue of somebody who's been dead for a long time? I understand we don't like what it stood for, but let's educate people on why it's a bad thing of what it represents instead of saying, we're just going to tear it down and forget about it. We're not going to talk about it anymore.
So you're saying an alternative could be leave it up, but instead of saying, hey, this was this general and he was brave and valiant, no, this was a general who fought for slavery and he wanted to enslave people, or this is Christopher Columbus, he really came.
That's a very idealistic way to look at it, and I don't. And it was a complicated war, and the history is very long. And the thing is, I think a lot of folks that are upset about it didn't do the due diligence to say the historical, relevance of this or not. And it's just like, I'm going to be mad about this because everybody else is mad about it, and this is what we're going to do. And you're spending a lot of time and energy, people getting hurt. And I'm not sure if you're actually promoting what you're trying to promote. You're just making a lot of people upset. And there's a better way to do this. There's got to be a better way to do this.
The better way to view those is to put them all in a museum. We don't have King Tut's tomb right out in the middle of Central Park and name it after him. It's in a museum so that anybody that wants to learn about that history or anybody that wants to see it can go see it. And I think
that's a wonderful idea. Recategorize how we look at them, but don't act like it didn't happen.
Right. Oh, all right, guys. Jefferson is in. This means that Facebook is lighting up. People are talking. They're asking questions. They may have a question for someone specifically. So what you got for us, Jefferson?
Listen, I have some great questions. I'm not sure if you want to hear all the questions or if you want me to feed you a little. And
give us the top three.
Top
Hey, you
three.
know what?
Okay.
Give us your top three, and what I'm going to do when you ask it, I'm going to assign it to someone.
Okay. So this question right here, I want you to assign it to two people. They asked, "What do you think about the term Karen?"
Who?
All right.
Oh,
Karen.
Karen. Okay. Yeah. I want Laura and I want Sarah. What is Karen? Laura and Sarah. Go.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna jump in because I really have no idea. I've heard the term floating around.
Marianne.
I've heard the term floating around, and I know that like it applies to. I assume it's a term that applies to a privileged, oblivious white person. That's my general understanding.
Marianne,
Not wrong.
It's not a privileged, oblivious white person. It's that white person. It's the female version of a good old boy. It's the female version of the people that will go lynch somebody. But she's doing it with her cell phone because she knows that if she is in the right side of town or the right part of the park or whatever, she can make it that black person's fault or that Mexican's fault or whoever. She can barbecue Becky, complain her way into having something happen to that person.
So you're saying Amy Cooper in New York Central Park is the Karen who said, "Oh my God, this black guy's gonna kill me."
Yeah.
Right. Even though she was in the wrong because she didn't have her dang dog on a leash.
Okay,
How
so
about
let
that?
me see if I understand it. So it's if I understand it better. So it's a white person who wields their privilege.
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
And it sounds like it even go even further. It sounds like it could be wield their privilege and even weaponize their privilege to demonize someone else. Because it sounds like it's more than just wielding privilege. All right. Cool.
It's not new.
Are you good?
In my world, Karen has an equal opportunity. One of the most non-racist things there is. She's always the one that's stirring the pot. She's the one that stops you in public for walking down the wrong lane. She's the one that's telling you to put your mask on. That's in my world. Karen is probably one of the most non-racist people because that's always the one that's going to tell you what to do because she knows better than how to run your life than you do.
With the I want the manager haircut.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So did we answer that person's questions, Jefferson?
Yeah, you definitely did. I'm sure if I could add more to the question, a lot of people say that calling any older white woman Karen is an overgeneralization. And I hear people specifically on Twitter saying that calling a white woman a Karen is similar to calling a black person an N-word.
No.
So I'm curious to know if there's anyone who agrees with that. They see Karen as a racial slur, if you will.
No, that is not even close.
Wow.
It is not even close.
It's not. I don't see that either. No.
Okay. All right. Well, we just now. This is great. This is white people trivia. What's the next?
All right. Okay, boom. Someone said Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," has always stemmed from a racist platform. It always meant make America white again. And someone said the again part is the operative term. So when if it was make America great, they would be comfortable with it. But it seems to me what they're saying is the again part
that changes
is the negative aspect. So they want to know your thoughts on that, on the again part. For those who agree with the statement, make America great again, what are your thoughts on that?
All right, so we want to go Chad, because that does change it. Make America great. If you're American, why wouldn't you want America to be great? But if we say make America great again, then we got to say, if you're a Native American, time out, when was it great? If you're black, whoa, hey, wait a minute, when was it great? If you were Japanese, you may thinking, was that before the camps or after the camp? So Chad, make America great again. What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm going to be a big disappointment. I don't read it into that. I think it's like, I'd like to get reelected. So I want to make America great again. So I'd like to be president again. So, I mean, you can read, I mean, it's just like the Karen thing. You can make anything you want into a racist slur. And I don't see it. I hear make America great again.
Yeah, I am glad you're on with us, man.
You weren't creative enough to come up with a new slogan. So you use the same slogan. You say, let's do it again because you just did it for 4 years. Let's do it again.
You couldn't say keep America great.
What do you say, Lee?
I said it. after 4 years, he couldn't use the slogan "Keep America Great" because he hadn't gotten us there yet.
Thank you. Amen.
I think he took us in the other direction.
So let me ask this question. And first of all, Jefferson, did we answer that question fully?
You definitely did, and we got more, but go ahead.
Okay, all right, go ahead. White people tribute.
Okay, so Ray Dodge the second asked.
No, not Ray.
It's gonna be loaded.
Okay,
wait, time out. That's funny because when you say Ray Dodge, Marianne, Laura, they all know what's coming. So go ahead.
All right, so he asked, is it hard for white people to hear and or admit the wrongs white Americans have committed against African Americans? Is that hard to hear? Is it hard to accept? If so, why?
Okay, Marianne, Charlotte, I think David, Julie, Hale, whoever want to take it, go.
Okay, so
go ahead, Marianne.
As far as I'm concerned, it is not hard. It's hard for me to hear the shit. I'm sorry, the stuff that happened, because I would never have wanted to be part of that. I would want to have been the people that attacked the people that started that. But when he says at the beginning, we got to kind of speak for what we know other white people is thinking, saying, and doing behind closed doors out here. I think white people as a whole don't want to hear it, because if they weren't there to see it, they're like, I wasn't even alive. That was my granddaddy or whatever. And we're not talking about the people that just turn a blind eye, or the people that, oh, it's not in my neighborhood. I didn't see that today. Oh, where was that? I wasn't there. So the problem is they don't want to accept that other people that look like them are doing it. They don't want to accept the fact that in the back of their mind, they're really a bigot and they think that person was right in doing it. That kind of thing. Like my dad is Hungarian. He looks white, dark hair, dark eyes. My mom and all her brothers and sisters are a version of blonde or redhead, Irish and native, with a little German sprinkled in there somewhere. So everybody in my family passed for white for the longest. I looked like a tan, like a Eskimo baby until I had my radiation and stuff. Now I'm pale as a ghost. So I passed for white very well now. And everybody wants to turn their head like, oh, that didn't happen, until I had my black kids. And then it was, oh, she came out light. That's okay. Or, oh, she looks Hawaiian. No, she was made in Hawaii. She's not Hawaiian. She's black. Get over it. And those are the people that they're going to keep on saying, oh, it doesn't exist, or it's not a thing because I didn't see it in front of my face today. I wasn't right there when it happened.
Okay. Who else?
Okay. No. Do we really want to see anybody treat another person different? No. But same goes with the black. Do y'all want to watch it too? The black on black crime, or the white on white crime, or any other?
I love that. Okay. Black on black. I love that.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, he only brought it to, do we want to watch the white people treat the black people bad? But I mean, I don't want to watch nobody treat nobody bad. Black on black crime, or the white I'm just being truthful.
I love
it. Y'all agree?
I love it.
I agree. I'm just saying,
one at a time. Charlotte, finish your statement, and who wants to jump in?
White people treat the black people bad. I mean, I don't want to watch nobody treat nobody bad. Black crime, or the white. I'm just being truthful. I love it. Y'all agree? I agree. I'm just saying,
one at a time.
What happened?
I think that was Dwayne. I think he had a lag and it was playing a loop. So I think we're good.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. So Charlotte, you mentioned black on black crime.
Mm-hmm.
Marianne has a word.
I know she's upset. Yeah.
So
no, I'm not upset about it. I just I was glad that you brought that up, because so many of those white people, the Karens, they always want to go to, oh, he was a thug, he deserved to die, or something like that. When you bring up something like the George Floyd incident, okay, so he had a record. Now, had he got shot by the pregnant woman he held a gun to when they robbed her house, I would say he earned that death. The way he died, it doesn't matter how you feel about his background or what he did before, the way he died was incorrect. The way he was killed, murdered.
Yes, it was. And it was. And I agree totally with that.
The simple fact of the matter is, you brought up black on black and white on white. Yes, everybody that does dirt is going to do dirt closest to their neighborhood, closest to their home, where they don't actually eat. Okay, so it's like generational. It's a problem from the kids on up. It's a revolving door. And that happens in certain neighborhoods because that's all they know, and they never get out of that neighborhood. And they never get out of that mentality. The other thing that I'm looking at with that is, when I say, oh, I got throat cancer, you don't say, but breast cancer matters too. You don't say, oh, what
But
about
it
that guy's
does. I mean, you
prostate?
know.
What about that guy's prostate cancer? Doesn't that matter? Well, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about my throat right now. So that's why I get mad or upset or defensive when people bring up black on black crime and the stats of white people get killed more than black people by cops.
But
Well,
I thought the question was, do we enjoy seeing our white race treat other people bad? Yes. Nobody wants to see, I don't want to see nobody deserves to be treated bad.
I think there's at least 30% of the white population in the United States that would enjoy seeing someone of a darker skin tone, regardless of whether it was black, white, or Asian or what.
And that
would
there
enjoy
lies the
seeing them
problem.
stomp
Yes.
down. Yes.
So then time out. So Marianne, you think that at least 30% of whites enjoy or would enjoy seeing black people hanging on trees again, maybe even seeing black people enslaved again. Chad is shaking his head no. Dana's shaking his head yes. I'm just curious. Let's take a quick poll.
Chad, I understand Chad's point of view because he had so long in the service, and when somebody's got your six, they got your six for life. I have all my people still, my battle buddies from basic. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. We check in on each other daily. We talk all the time. We go make trips to see each other. But you can't base the view of what the entire world is off of the unit that had your back at that time. I understand.
I'm a man of the world, and I'm just saying 30%. That's a big number, and I think that's a really harsh number to say that number of white people want to see anything bad happen to anyone. I think I'm
not saying they specifically would want to watch like George Floyd get
that's
murdered.
I just don't think that the majority.
I'm saying they would love to enjoy the perks of their privilege of seeing those that around them that are darker being stomped down. They're the ones that are.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, so time out. Hold on, Dana. What I want to do is take a quick poll. So the question is, the statement was made, 30% of white people would prefer in some kind of way that black people were back in a subservient position, Mexican, Hispanic, I'm assuming all minorities, et cetera. We're going to start with Tawnya. Do you believe that is true, that 30%, or let's not even use 30, what percent, if any, do you think that white people would like to see it back to the 1860s when slavery was still existing? What percent of white people do you think? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Your voice is too good. Unmute it.
I think that at least 15 to 20% of white folks in certain areas would not have an issue with it, and they'd be okay with telling you about that. And those are the people we see the videos of on YouTube and whatnot. I think there's a segment of the population that wouldn't mind if we shifted back to the 50s or the 60s before desegregation. They're just
not. And I'm not talking about the 50s. I'm talking about, let's take it all the way back to the 1850s. So 15 to 20%, is that your number?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You don't have to defend it at all. You don't have to defend it because here's the deal. You know the community, you know your family, your friends, whatever it is. So that's your answer. Chad, what do you think?
Say about 3%, and they're mentally unstable.
Yeah. Let's go with Chad.
So Chad says 3% and they're mentally ill. Laura?
Probably 25, 30%.
25 to 30%. Julie?
I'd say under 10%, but I think they're very vocal.
Okay, so you're saying 8 to 10 or 8 to 9.5?
Sure.
Okay, Sarah?
I'm going to go with like the 10%-ish kind of range. I mean, it's disturbing to even think there's any out there, but obviously I know that I acknowledge that there are, but I mean, yeah, I would say maybe 10%.
10%? Okay. Charlotte?
No, I'm going with 2. I'm going way low.
So sorry. Charlotte and Chad, they hanging together.
Not going way back. Yes, I don't think nobody really wants to go that far back.
Dana?
I'm gonna say I'd go way high, and if there's a moment for me to speak, I'll share why I believe that. But I would think it's definitely above 50-60%.
Whoa! So you say 60%? God, dog, brother, I hope you are wrong because it's so.
I do too.
It's so Jefferson. We better go to Haiti real quick. All right, Marianne.
Well, I'm sticking right around that 30% mark because I mean I don't know anybody else's background here, but I've been in interracial situations. My children are Black, Mexican, and Indian. And I know from a firsthand standpoint, in a small town that seems to get along with everybody, that even here we have a couple racist cops. Even here we have people that put a noose on the playground at a school.
So this is what I did. I took all of your numbers and came up with 165. Then I divided into everyone who's on here to get an average. So the average came out to be 20.6%. So since you all represent every white person in America, then it is factual. Sorry, Chad. Sorry, Charlotte. You guys are way too low. It is factual because on my Facebook page, the white people who comment knows white people. So therefore, Dana, sorry, it's not that high. Chad, sorry, it's not that low. 20% based on this national syndicated poll. We'll use the same polling that they did in 2016 when they predicted Hillary Clinton was going to win. It was so wrong.
Oh,
so the same poll.
So
Go back to the original question.
May I give kind of my reason?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
The reason why is because, first of all, if the majority of white Americans were against the treatment of the way Blacks have been treated, it would have changed years ago.
Thank you.
When I go into any Christian white evangelical church, 90 to 100% of them are pro-life and they're anti-homosexuality. None of them ever have I saw them say anything about the injustices against our people of color or our Black brothers and sisters. It's the opposite. I was through the Navigators for years. Some of you in the military, you might know about the Navigators. It's a parachurch organization. I got booted out several white churches because their thing was this: you're preaching Blackness more than you're preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. I said the gospel of Jesus Christ is justice for the oppressed.
Yes.
So that's why I say hi. And I believe that when this table, as you see, this is white people. First of all, I don't know if I've ever met a Black person, including those out on the street that are gang members, that don't want to see their America or their society better. The problem is, white society doesn't shut up enough to listen to my Black brothers and sisters on how they want to try to make America better by them being freed up to utilize their gifts and their talents equally as us white people. The problem is when we think about making America great again, we don't think Black people are in that equation. Because we don't listen to them. Chad, I agree. You say, I wish there was another way. I wish white people would then tell me, what way do you want Black people to share this injustice? They knelt, you beat them up.
Yep.
They do this, you beat them up. You beat them up for doing anything except for one thing: submissive silence.
Yes.
What do you want our Black brothers and sisters to do? Because any way I have seen them, I went to my churches and shared how the injustice is in our correctional facility.
Oh my gosh.
They never invited me back. But yet they had a great big ministry in the church. Because white people love to go into the confines of a jail system, because then, you know, I always ask them, why don't you move your jail ministry before these young men get in jail?
Yes.
Why don't you come to the inner city with me and see the injustices of these young men that have a little bit of a weed background on them, get 6 years in prison, get out, and nobody wants to hire them. Just because they sold weed doesn't make them a thief, doesn't make them a liar. But yet you look at them as an absolute no good individual. So what do you want my Black brothers and sisters out on the street to do?
So
we're gonna do a march. Oh, go ahead.
No. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And what we want to do is I want to read, today, because I get inboxes a lot. And so there's a gentleman on Facebook, white guy. He said this, and this goes to the question that Ray Dotch just asked. He said, I believe the downfall of the Black family was the welfare system and created a system that rewarded Blacks not to marry, which created more single moms raising their kids alone, creating a much lower graduation rate for Blacks and more Blacks in poverty and higher rate of crime and end up in prison or in early grade. Now, that's what he said. Who agrees with that? If you agree with that, raise your hand. If you agree with that, raise your hand.
100%.
No.
Disagree with that, raise your hand.
It's deeper than that.
No, absolutely. But if you just face at surface, if you agree with that, raise your hand.
At surface.
At surface.
It goes deeper. It definitely goes deeper.
Now, this was my response to him. I said, that's where we have a problem because we cannot agree as to the origins of the Black problem. I said, perhaps you need to learn a little bit more history. The downfall of the Black family was slavery, was white men raping Black women, white men killing Black men and selling Black children. So there was no family in America. And American white men taught Black people how not to have or value family. I said, if your brain can't see that, and you can only see the problem with white Black people in America is the welfare system, then we can never agree. So I'm going back to Ray's question now, and let's hit that right there for a minute. So it almost seems like some white people have a fundamental different thought about Blacks and their problem because they don't connect slavery to anything. They see slavery as, we're sorry that it happened, but Jews were slaves too, but white people were slaves too, but slaves happen all over the world. Not the way it happened here. So let's not compare atrocities because that's kind of stupid to do that in the first place. But this white guy was saying Black people's problems are Black people, but he never seemed to attach it to the history of this country. So I'm thinking what Ray is saying is, why don't white people see what's happening in this nation? They had a direct hand in it, even though slavery was done over 100 years ago. Does anyone see that, Julie?
They don't care.
They don't.
Okay, Dana said they don't care. Marianne said they don't care. Julie, what do you say?
So part of it is one with Ray's question of, is it hard for us to admit guilt as white people? Yes, of course it is, because if we admit guilt, then then we're admitting we did something wrong, and then to move forward, we're going to have to do something about it. And white people are like, no, I can't do that because it wasn't my fault. I wasn't alive then. So that takes reparations, that takes all kinds of issues off the table. But who created those systems that person was inboxing you about? White people created those systems.
Not white people, white men. And I think that's why, because the reality is white women didn't really have that many rights either. Because I think you got the right to vote after we did. So thanks, white men. You like Black people better. You like white women. But
No.
But no, I want to come back to Chad because Chad right now, white men are getting beat up. Middle-aged white men are getting beaten up because we're like, hey man, let's look at the history. When you hear us talk about that history, Julie just said white people don't want to be made to feel guilty. One, do white men acknowledge that history, or do they just say, listen, just get over it? Because we all hear pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. What do you think about that? And I think that's kind of in Ray's question.
No, and I know better because you and I have had some long conversations about that, and I appreciate our relationship because it did. I think a lot of it does come back to education and how we did end up with the Black ghettos in the slums and the history behind that, in which kind of promoted a welfare system and a society that where crime became a career choice because of lack of education, lack of resources, and that thing. I admit that, and as apparently the white representative of the bad side, it does need to be fixed. And the thing is that how fast can you fix it, and what do you do to fix it? And I think a lot of the downfall, not to blame you, but you have politicians that have, they've got agendas too. And and when you're a minority, your agenda, I would say, is very hard to come to the top. I think the BLM movement at its base is a good thing. I mean, the Black Lives Matters.
Wait a minute, Chad. You're a Republican. If you sit there and say BLM is a good thing, we're gonna kick you out of the Republican Party.
No. I think the movement as an educational force is good. I think a lot of the things that have been associated with it are bad, but I also think that there's an element that would like it to be bad. So I don't trust most of the stuff I hear on the news. But it's like when they did the murals on the street, Black Lives Matters. That hurt no one, and that made an awareness higher, and brought attention in a positive way. I think it's fantastic. I think what it was Asheville, North Carolina did with the reparations bill. I saw that. I'm like, what are you talking reparations bill? But what they did is they structured it to give better housing, better education, better opportunities to low-income, underprivileged Black folks. And I said, you know what? That's a fantastic thing to do. I think
so you're not opposed to reparations?
I'm opposed to stroking a check to somebody and saying, here, I'm sorry for my ancestors. You can have my house and you can have my car, and I apologize. I think that's unreasonable.
So how about we leave you with your car? I just want your house, Chad.
Right, but you got the dogs. You got to feed the dogs because they. No, but
you can keep the snapping turtle.
That turtle's mean. You don't want that turtle.
Eat that turtle. That turtle will be gumbo.
But that's what I'm saying is that I want to say there's more people like me than folks because the loud minority also deals with a loud majority, and the loud majority isn't the most of us. And I think most of us do believe, like I do, that there's a better way to do this and that there's a better way to help folks out of their situation. And I don't have a problem paying taxes and helping folks get to where they want to go. I make good money. I pay a lot of money in taxes. I know where it goes. And I want folks, I'm big at opportunity. I mean, I got 15 Nigerians I'm teaching how to fly helicopters right now. I mean, these are folks that have zero opportunity in their country. And I think it's fantastic. You know, see how hard these people work. Now,
so that's interesting, Chad. I'm honestly shocked that you said some form, not cutting checks directly to people, but some form of reparations to repair the breach that's been done with housing and education is agreeable to you. I think they may send you a letter this week from the Republican Party. Your car might get taken away from you.
They still need my vote. They ain't kicking me out.
Okay, somebody else was going to say something. I saw someone. Yes.
So what you said about helping people out of their situation, I think we're at the point where it's not helping people out of the situation. I think it's changing the system so that future generations aren't in those situations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Systemic recreation of some of our country, because this white creation is complete BS. I mean, it is an absolute American construct. It is.
Well, I'm sorry, you froze for a second. What is BS? I missed it.
The idea of whiteness, anyway, the white race. It's an absolute. It is an absolute American construct. It is not real. It's something that was created.
But let me ask you this though: Mickey Mouse wasn't real, but it was created by Walt Disney, and now billions of people go to Disney World. So even though it wasn't real, once it's created, it becomes very real.
Right, but what I'm saying is it was deliberately created. It was created because, okay, you want the short history lesson?
Give us the medium version.
Okay, all right, so.
Don't give us the Dana version, give us the Chad version.
Okay, so white people didn't exist legally before 1681. So in the early 1600s, there were about 92,000 people in the Americas, and 75% of those were indentured in some way, not necessarily slaves that we know it later. But before that, like before the 1680s, everybody kind of got along and worked along together. The Africans, the British, the Europeans, all were cool. The problem comes in is that men outnumber men 7-1, all right? So, and when we came to the colonies, we adopted the British laws of legally, the woman is married, she doesn't exist. Like she has no rights, none. Not even rights to her children, money, inheritance, anything.
I mean, in the British system, the woman didn't have any rights.
No, not once you're married. Once you're married, then you are seen as one under the husband.
Got
so
it.
And even if you separate or something, you can't have your children because you have no legal right to them as a woman.
Okay, keep going.
All right, so the problem kind of comes in is that women live longer than men do. So when, a woman's widow, when her husband dies and she inherits that property that he had, well, then whoever remarries her then gets that property, right? So there's some wealth building within that. But women, because of the 7-1, not every woman was choosing to be with a European man.
So who are they choosing to be with?
The big black men.
So you mean even in the 1600s, the white woman wanted the black man? What? So they had to make the white man pissed off.
Everybody got along and it was accepted. It's not a big deal back then, okay?
So time out. So I think would we agree, and Chad, you tell us, and Dana, tell us if it's wrong. When white women like black men, white men don't like that, generally speaking. Is that accurate or not so much, or who cares?
That's accurate.
Hold that thought for a second.
I'm in the who cares department, so.
I'm in this.
I've got a lot of mixed marriage friends and it don't really matter to me. So.
Okay, D?
I'm gonna say this, white men are intimidated by black men across the board, period. That's why we're afraid of them having some power. We're intimidated with them in sports. That's why we always say, well, all black people are good at basketball. That's why we say all black guys and women can sing. All those stereotypes. White men are intimidated and afraid of the black man.
Period. We used to have golf. Now,
Okay, all right, Julie. Now, Julie, you got to give us the short version because Brother Noel just came back. You come on now.
You got to let me get there. So you're oversimplifying because it's not about men's comparing their equipments to each other. More important. But so think of it with an economic lens. So in the early 1660s, they've had a law in Virginia that said mulatto children or mixed race children, they get the status of the mother. So if the mother is a slave, then the child is a slave. Economically, that increased the slave owner's wealth. So that was a benefit to them. And then in 1681, that's when they first had this law, and when they first created white, and they said a white person cannot marry categories of people who are not white, meaning...
That was after Bacon's Rebellion, right?
It was, about 5 years after. So that changed because before the law said that if you were like European or freeborn, well, then an African person could be freeborn. So the law could not apply to them. So, or it could be European or Christian. Well, you could convert to white. So those two kind of laws created, meant that slave women became commodities, which increased wealth. And then white women, they couldn't marry anyone but white men, which also gave white men whatever wealth the woman brought, and then gave them heirs for that wealth. So you got to look at it through an economic lens. So that's how we ended up with this whole white.
But though, it's almost like without hitting Bacon's Rebellion, that is not fully explained, because Bacon Rebellion is when your black folk, your folk had joined forces and said, hey, these wealthy landowners are promising us things that they're not delivering on. They're not treating us well. Let's unite as black and white. Let's go against that 1% or 10% or whatever it was at the time. And that's when the 10% saw, yo, wait a minute. These poor blacks and these poor whites might realize that we're the real oppressor. We got to stop this. So now let's make white a privilege. Let's make white a status. And now blacks automatically, no matter where you were, you're going to all be slaves.
Yes and no. So the white wasn't really about Bacon's Rebellion and the two working together. That's when they started saying white's better than, and started grouping together saying you're better than the African people. That's where you had that division and started that whole historical story that one was elevated above the other, so you couldn't join against the elite. The white race came in because of the women, because the women would not marry only the white men, which meant that if I have had two husbands who died already, and now I have the equivalent of $1 million of wealth in these colonies and I have all this land and property, and I'm going to marry an African man, Well, that African man is suddenly incredibly, incredibly wealthy. That puts him above the white elites, and that couldn't happen. So they changed that law so that the white women would be penalized for having any kind of marriage to anyone who was non-white, because they also passed laws that if you chose to marry an enslaved man who was a black man, then you too became a slave until the end of his life, and your children did too.
So in other words, nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, and the rest of the children, the rest of your lineage would be slaves.
Interesting. So then I think that goes back to either Marianne's or Dana's point earlier, that America, the system of America, was built on racism, and people don't like to hear that. But if you're talking about the laws and the statutes, everything you just said were laws and statutes. So that means that someone thought to write down all of this so that we will criminalize Black, we will oppress, suppress, depress Black, we will elevate white, we will make sure that the white woman knows that she has a level of status that the Black male or woman would never have. So if you take that, and if you say that was in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, we're talking about 300 plus years of that. So now goes back to Chad's question is, how do you undo such a deep and tangled racist history?
And Dwayne,
it wasn't anybody, white men who did that. White men.
Right. White men. It was Chad. It was Chad.
But you're now the Karen.
And Dana.
And it was. And see, that's why I accept responsibility for that. Because if you look at the Constitution was never written to include Blacks. They changed it. But see, there was a key in when they changed it to include Black people that were slaves. They said that the Constitution and the rights of it would include everybody except now if they were a criminal. So therefore, our system, now that we have to include Black slaves now, or Black people were now a part of the Constitution. They originally were not. But now that we became more politically correct,
provision,
right? What we've done now is we said, well, okay, Black people can have these rights on the paper, but if anybody's a criminal, they do not. So what did we do? We moved from the cotton field to the correctional facility. Mm-hmm. So now let's make our Blacks criminals with no crime or a little crime. Therefore, we can justify by the Constitution that our Black people who are now criminals do not or are not included under the Constitution. So we just changed the system, because see, the Bible says the letter of the law killeth, but the spirit of the law gives life. Mm-hmm. White America applies the letter of the law to our Black brothers and sisters, and we kill them with it. But we use the spirit of the law upon ourselves.
And that's how you get grace. So I'm getting ready to share something real quick. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I want to just break down a little bit of what Dana just said. So he's talking about with the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment granted all freedoms to all Americans. There were 4 million slaves or people who were enslaved that were now free. But the question is, how do you maintain the economy? So therefore, there was a clause given the 13th Amendment, except for criminals, you are free. And if you're arrested, you lose your freedom. So what happened after that is Black people were literally arrested for sneezing, vagrancy, disrespecting a white person, sassing a white person. This is in my series, the Black series, bird watching, walking on the railroad tracks or whatever it is. So literally it became almost illegal. This is when your chain gangs began to happen and all of that stuff. So because slavery was abolished, the white system knew we got to figure out a way to get this free labor.
They found a new way around it. Look at Emmett Till. They found a new way around it.
Right.
And it
now we got to bring back Jefferson. Yes, Jefferson, what you got?
All right, so we have
because we got to hurry up and wrap this up. I told them this was going to go fast.
So we do have one comment based on what's being spoken about right now, but we have another comment from earlier that I think is still relevant to this conversation. So David Cole said,
David
L. Cole, he says, spot on, Julie. Race as a socio-cultural construct had an economic foundation and still is largely economically motivated, except now millions of people believe the myth of race. So that was a comment based on what we're speaking about now. Someone wanted to bring back the conversation around black on black crime and police officers. I'm looking, okay, so it says, no, specifically for black police officers. They said to clarify the above, black police officers who buy into the culture of over-policing black communities are implicitly propagating the racist systems of the war on drugs and the prison industrial complex. So I think this was in reference to the conversation about, you know how they say if you want to resolve the police brutality in black communities, police officers have to represent the communities that they serve in. So this person is saying, and Patrick, you correct me if I'm wrong, if these same police officers continue the system of over-policing black communities, then they're also a part of that industrial prison industrial complex.
That's why we're branching out and we're getting more a broader spectrum, and we're trying to get more people of different minorities, different backgrounds, whatever. We're trying to get them in those positions of power because we want to get out the people that don't deserve the badge, the people that are disgracing it, the people that deserve to be behind the bars themselves. And that's why August 10th, I'll start with the Juvie Center. I'll be over there working with the kids that are maybe a little messed up, maybe got a bad home life, maybe did some drugs, maybe they stole a car, did whatever, candy bar, I don't know. But I'll be over there working with them because it's my mission to try and stop them from being part of that revolving door. It is my mission to get to them while they're young enough to still be impressioned, to still be able to choose right from wrong, to be able to get out of those situations. But people want to keep beating them down from the start just because they're darker skinned. That shouldn't help it.
You like the word shit, don't you, Marianne?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's better than anything else I got in my repertoire. You don't want to hear the rest of it. Okay. I'm just saying, you know.
I got you. I appreciate your passion. What was the other comment, Jefferson?
Okay, so the other comment is, and Laura, don't get upset with this comment. I'm not sure if they wrote it in reference to your relationship, but the comment says, and I'm looking for it right now. It says, does it make you not a racist because you have black friends, a black husband, or a black boyfriend? Does that mean you're not a racist?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. That is a good question. But you know,
go ahead. I would just say this. I mean, we know that Dahmer and others were serial killers, you know, but they had friends. So because they had friends they didn't kill, it didn't make him not a serial killer. You know, and then Laura.
So you're saying you can be a racist and have black friends?
Absolutely. I've been in the black community for 26 years, Dwayne, and I'm still seeing racist ideas that pop in my head that I need to deal with after 26 years. For instance, I told you the other day, and I noticed it. Okay, I was driving and there was this white woman begging for money. And when I pulled away, my heart was broken. And I had to say, well, wait a minute. There's a black lady that sits at this corner almost every day asking for money. Why did the image of this white woman break my heart more than the image of the black woman?
Because she looks like you and you're more concerned about it?
Yes, and it's normal to see, because I've been told it's normal for black people to beg for money because they're on welfare, they're lazy, they're this, but us white people are not. And so when I saw that white woman, I'm not accustomed to that. And it hurt my heart. So am I the only one that's this way? Well, maybe I am. And if that's the case, at least I'm still going to be honest about the depth of racism that lies in my heart.
Let me ask you this. What did Jane Elliott tell you that if you have a high school diploma in America, what did she tell you?
She said that our education in the United States of America is not education. It's indoctrination. Yes, because we didn't teach anything about who blacks were prior to us enslaving them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then what we do is we only educate what white people have done. You know, white people love Elvis Presley because he was unique. Well, he was unique because his music was written by blacks. Black people at the time that were not allowed to be showcased. You know, Henry Ford is my great uncle. He really didn't invent the car. A black man did. But a black man that linked it together wasn't able to have any type of recognition. So when you look at the majority of our inventions in this country, they were invented by black people.
And that goes back to the patent issues too, and the oppression of black people filing patents and that whole system. That's a whole nother ball game. But I mean, I'm getting in, I'm getting a history lesson here, and I wish, like, you know, I dare say I might be like among the younger people here, but I never heard about a lot of this history, you know, and so it's amazing how, you know, history is written by the victor, or, you know, whoever writes the history book, that's what history is. And so I wish that we, as white people and also as educators, you know, could have that education reformation where we really are honest with ourselves, you know, about the past. And let's go back to the statues. I mean, again, that's another, I feel like, topic, but, you know, let's talk about the good things, but also the bad things, you know, like the pros and the cons. Let's be transparent. Let's actually learn from our history, and the mistakes that we've made to be able to improve upon them. I've never heard any of this stuff. And so thank you guys.
Just like when it goes back to the redlining and everything like that, it goes back to the segregation days where they say, oh, hey, you can have this, you can have that. But the problem is they went and got their own. They went and made their own. They started Black Wall Street. They started black businesses. And the white people
what happened
burned
to it?
To the ground. They burned it to the ground because it was better than theirs. Just like they're jealous of them because they're better built. They're more athletic. They're better. They're prettier to look. I don't know what the problem ever started with.
So two things. Hold on one second, Dana. So Sarah, you just said something interesting, and I agree. There were many, as a slave, you had no rights to anything. You didn't even have rights to your own body. But so when they began to create, like Eli Whitney gets the credit for the cotton gin, but he wasn't out there picking cotton. So why would he care about creating the cotton gin, the broom, the mop, all of these different things? So when you take that level of wealth away from the people who created it and then give it to the quote unquote master, and then they have generations to reproduce, reduplicate, make it better, faster, stronger, that's tons of wealth. So then Marianne just mentioned Black Wall Street, where black people said, look, okay, we're just tired of y'all. We don't want to be bothered with you. We'll build our own place. We had better businesses than the white folk. White folk came in and burnt it up and all this stuff. So now you have, you know, slavery, then you have black codes, and you have Jim Crow, and now you have all this other stuff. So when people talk about reparations, people say, why would we give you anything? But history shows in America that white people have been pretty doggone bad to black people. And that doesn't mean someone say, well, not my, okay. But we know that 20% based on our global factual research here. So if it's 20%, and we're talking about what, 180, 200 million Americans, 20%, that's like 20 million people. That's a lot of folks. Let me run something back to you guys real quick. Right now, corporations are making statements. You know, we stand with black people, Black Lives Matter. Some companies have given tens of millions. I think one company gave $1 billion. I forget which one it is. Do you guys pay attention to what as white people, do you pay attention to what the corporations are doing or what they're saying? Or are you like, I really don't care? Is that a big deal to you? Who's doing what, or do you not care? Laura, I saw your hand first.
Well, because I'm kind of on the front line because I do social media for the company that I work for. So they have taken a stand, and they're putting up the ads, Black Lives Matter, and I'm having to field all of the racist comments back from that. And it's just, some days are just soul sucking. It's like, are you kidding me? But
so let's talk about percentages. What percentage is we're in favor? Because I'm wondering if that 20% rule.
Very few. Very few. Oh, there's a lot, because here's a secret. I'll just hide the comments on Facebook. Most of the time I'm hiding more comments than I'm letting go through. Wow. Because they're terrible.
But why are you hiding them though? Shouldn't the corporations know what Americans are thinking?
Well, what we do is we hide it so that customer can still see it, but nobody else can see it. So that way we're not deleting their comments.
You're not deleting it or shutting them up. You're
Yeah.
stopping the hatred.
Yeah, we're not deleting them completely. We're just telling them, you know, nobody else is going to look at what you say. And I deal with working, you know, without naming the company that I work for. I deal with a lot of working guys, a lot of you know, blue collar, definitely. And it's some days it's just soul sucking. It really, really is.
So does that change your purchasing habits? Like if a company says, I don't care anything about Black Lives Matter, do you not shop there? If a company says we're going to pledge, does it mean anything? Because I know, for instance, this is why I'm asking, in the Black community, we're literally looking at which companies are supporting what. So someone literally just texted me when I asked this question. Bank of America gave $1 billion. Well, here's what's interesting. I bank at Chase. And I have given millions of dollars into Chase account. Chase is like, Black Lives, what? Okay. So now do I make a decision and say, I want my dollars to go to Bank of America? The other day I was going to Walgreens to shop and I was getting some dental floss and toothpaste and all this stuff. And someone said, why are you in Walgreens? Walmart just pledged like $100 million or whatever. Why don't you go to Walmart? And I was like, whoa. I'm like, you guys are serious about this stuff. And so it was like, many people in the Black community is like, listen, if you are not supporting us, we are not supporting you. Is that just a Black people thing, or are white people thinking in that way at all? And if so, who can chime in?
That's an everybody thing. And I think that falls back on when you were talking about the Make America Great versus Make America Great Again, it's the same thing. These are the people that hear Black Lives Matter and hear Black Panthers coming down the street ready to shoot everybody that's white. These are not the people.
Black Panthers, NFAC, NFAC.
Black Panthers were not that. The Black Panthers were not that.
Grandmaster J.
Yeah. So to back that up is they were like, well, all lives matter and all that crap. When if it would have been Black Lives Matter too, you know, there's that Make America Great versus Make America Great Again, Black Lives Matter versus only Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter too. These are the things that people are drawing their distinction on. You know, oh, NASCAR black driver, they backed him up. So now NASCAR pulled the Confederate flag, as which they should have, because NASCAR pulling the Confederate flag means, yeah, y'all lost the war, go home, hang it up. You're going to have that same back and forth. Oh, it doesn't mean that to me. It just means I was born in Oklahoma or whatever. That's not a thing. That's not a thing, because the swastika started as a symbol of peace and it was turned into a Nazi calling card.
It was a stolen African symbol.
Yeah, that's what I was told too. Who said that? Julie? Laura? Yeah, I was told that the swastika was an Adinkra symbol long before it was something else. But hold on, we're jumping. Tawnya, do white people care about what corporations are pledging, but they're not? Do that change white people's shopping habits at all?
Well, I will say this: I am not buying Goya anymore. So, and we do, and not everybody. There is a segment of the population in white America that is apathetic. They don't care. They're not interested. They're just trying to live their life day to day. So they're not really plugged in. They hear the sound bites. And if the sound bites are twisted just right, then they're going to follow that sound bite and they're going to believe the conspiracy theories, and they're going to, they're just, because they want their world the way it is. They want to stay safe. They don't want things messed with, and they're going to blame everybody else for their problems.
Does anyone think the world is going to, Sarah, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to jump in about the companies and the corporations and contributing, making choices to, counteract racism. I kind of take it a step further, where I don't just look at the people who are shoving money at the problem, because I'm more interested in what the thoughtfulness behind that is. Like, are they just throwing money at it to feel better and assuage their guilt and be like, yeah, of course we care, or are they actually investing in Black communities and in redoing? Exactly. They're doing it for popularity. Millennials are very oriented and very, apt to be brand loyal to companies that give to causes they care about. And so I think part of it is really just an economic smokescreen. Again, So to me, like the actual contribution doesn't mean much if it's just money shoving at the problem. I mean, it's better than not having any resources, financial resources, but to me, that doesn't really take it to the next level. And here's an example, is I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., and the Redskins are going through their name change right now. The Washington Football Club. So, I mean, I grew up calling it the Redskins. I grew up loving the Redskins, you know, but they've now taken a step back and re-examined it. But really, you got to wonder, like, what is the motivation behind it? Like, you know, I think we all can look
I'm sure
at
the Indians have been fighting that for a while.
where he stands. And so it's just, you know, looking at the motivations behind it make me feel more drawn to the brand, not just the money itself.
I agree with that. For instance, Cards Against Humanity. It's a popular game that I do enjoy playing sometimes with friends, but they had this back during when, and it's still ongoing, but you know, when immigration was a big deal and it was in the news. When I say big deal, I'm talking about it was in the news a lot. And we were talking about children in cages and building the wall. I believe they made some statement or put some effort that was like, you know, making fun of building a wall. But then recently I've become aware that they actually have a lot of discriminatory practices with their writers. And I read a really long article, and I wish I could, I'm not one of those that remembers off the top of my head where I read it. It was something like Slate or something like that. And it was a particular writer who was a Black man and talking about his experience working for Cards Against Humanity. And it wasn't a great story. And as a person who cares about what I'm going to do, I've got the box of cards now. I'm not going to throw them away, but I'm not going to buy any more. And that had been my plan, to go buy more, you know. So, and I think there are other people like me out there that really care and think about, okay, not just what are they saying, but what are they doing?
Interesting. So that goes back to what Sarah said. And I'm wondering, is it a generational thing? Because I agree, this Generation Z, man, they're on fire. And they're not interested in, okay, you're pledging, but what are you doing? Are you really, you know, putting some real efforts into making America great or America better, or whatever the right word is? Because they're not interested in it as what she called the economic smokescreen. Before Jefferson come on, Julie, I saw you, Dana, I saw you, and then we're going to run to Jefferson. Then we got to get ready to wrap.
So what Sarah said is spot on. Like millennials and Gen Z, so much, they're so concerned about conscious brands. They want to know what the brand stands for before they spend their money. And I work in marketing, so not to sound too jaded, but companies pay attention to a lot of this. And it's not, this is the right thing to do sometimes. It's a lot more of, hey, let's run the numbers. Like
this is the bigger headline.
Who's going to feel about this? Are we going to offend our customers? Like if our customers are all kind of plan members, that's not going to play with our customers. So we're not going to buy into that, and we're not going to do it. But if our customers are more Gen Z, which Gen Z is the generation that is the most diverse, you can see where our country's going. Because when you start with boomers of white, and it's a chart, and it just dips like this. So they're a lot more conscious. And I agree with everybody. It's not where you put your money, because if Walmart throws out $1 million, what do they make that in a day, a week? Mm-hmm. But who is in their leadership? How many people of any color other than white do they have in any kind of leadership positions, executive level? How do they treat their employees? It's a lot more about how they treat people and how they interact with the communities than just, yay, Black Lives Matter, here's a check. I hope you forget all about our crappy business practices and buy our products anyway, which is what a lot of companies seem to be doing.
Well, you're talking more, it's corporate responsibility is bigger than saying we pledge this amount of money, but who's on our board? What causes, what things are we actually investing our dollars in? Got it. Dana, what were you going to say?
I'm actually not going to speak my own words. I'm going to speak when Jane Elliott and I had this conversation just the other day, and she said, baby, let me tell you this. She said, right now, it's the buzzword. So everybody's up in arms, but she said, just like it did in the 50s, just like it did in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, eventually we're going to go right back to where it was. because there's no heart change. She said there's no heart change and there's no change in our education system.
Yes.
So somebody, and I'm not going to give her age away, but I just want to say she was a teacher in the early 50s. So based on, you know, her longevity and her experience, you know, I take her as a wise woman. And so she said, yes, it's flaring up. But she said, you know, it settled back down after the 50s and 60s because the people in charge learned how to readjust the system to keep our Black brothers and sisters in the same. And I shared this, you know, white people used to come, white evangelicals used to come out of the church and see a slave get beat. And I know they were like, well, I wonder what he did. You know, he should have just obeyed. Then you had white evangelicals that were part of the KKK come out of the church and see a Black man hanging from the tree. Well, Emmett Till, I heard that he made at a young age, made a inappropriate gesture to the white lady. So what did he do to deserve it? Today, we see a Black man get killed by a cop, and that same mindset is with white evangelical or white America. Well, what did he do to deserve it? So the only thing that's changed is the physical forms of racism, but the evil, the hatred, and the resistance for white, male, heterosexual men to acknowledge our past. So we're concerned about giving a free check to our Black brothers and sisters, but yet white America, white men have gotten everything we've gotten free. We killed and slaughtered Native American Indians to take their land. We killed and slaughtered our Blacks in Wall Street when they were succeeding. So everything we got came for free because we killed or destroyed the people that owned it, and we took it from them.
So let me ask you this question. Is that why white men are arming themselves with, I'm talking about serious military style weapons, because their guilt says,
yes,
if it was me, I would do to them what they've done to me, even though we have no real history, maybe a couple rebellions or whatever, but we have no real history of just going out assaulting white people. So is that their guilt, their guilty conscience thinking that, whoa, if these guys ever get a leg up, they're gonna do to us what we did to them, because why would they not do it? And they can't fathom.
It's fear.
It's fear. Because
Dwayne, that's the exact question that we got from Facebook, and I want to ask it, but it's almost the same. But I want to ask it because Ray Dox asked. He said, "Be honest."
And before you ask it, I want Charlotte, Chad to hit it first. Then we'll come back to Dana.
Okay. So Ray Dox II said, "Be honest. Are white Americans fearful that if they lose their position of power in America, they will be mistreated in the same way they have mistreated minorities throughout history?"
Ask it again, Charlotte or Chad. Either one, you can take it.
Are white Americans fearful that if they lose their position of power in America, they will be mistreated in the same way they have treated minorities throughout history?
I'm sure I would be.
I appreciate that honest answer. So Charlotte said, yeah, Chad?
No, I don't see that as a prevalent fear, just because I just don't see that as something that they worry about. I'm
not worried about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not afraid of it. I want everything to get better and all this craziness to be over, but I don't see myself being reverted to something else. I think it's going to be different going forward, but that's not a fear that occurs in my head.
What do you think, Jordan?
I think that's very naive, actually, because the first thing that a lot of white men seems to do is you're going to take things away from us. We're going to grab our guns and defend things. And I don't think they can fathom a different way of doing it. They can fathom an inclusive society where everybody is equal, because all we've had is white men's leadership and white men's oppression for the last 400 years over women.
To ask a good question.
It doesn't seem to be able to resonate with them that you could be inclusive
I'll take over
and still have a level of power.
Well,
So yeah,
since everyone's talking for us and what we think, at what point are we allowed to think that it can be an all-inclusive society? I mean, what demonstration has to be done? Because I hear a lot about what I think and what I'm going to do and how I feel. but I don't hear anybody saying, well, if you did this, it would be different. It's kind of,
Yeah,
that's
this
the
is the
expectation.
action.
That's the expectation for, as long as I'm white, as long as I'm a man, this is how I'm going to be. It's almost like there's so much anger that even if you did change, we wouldn't acknowledge it anyway because you're faking it.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Time out.
Right.
Time
There you
out.
go.
It's heavy, Chad. So, Chad, you're saying there are some white guys out here who do want equality. I don't want to hold on to the, or who may even acknowledge they have privilege or whatever, but they don't want to keep getting beaten across the head. So let me ask you this question. You're saying that the white man is getting beaten across his head no matter what he say. If you say, I want equality, they say you're a liar. So then if that's the case, why would you still stand on the side for equality versus do what human nature says? I'm going to be defensive. If you keep attacking me, I'm going to defend.
I don't like to lose, and I don't think this entire event is something that can't be fixed. I mean, I'm sticking out on a big limb with this group, and I think there's a lot of people like me that'll go out on a limb, but it is, you got to, as long as you keep beating folks across the head with this is how you are, this is what you believe, and you're never going to change, you're driving them to do exactly that. Never change, because even if I did, you're not going to believe me. I can tell you all the things I've done as a man, and then, well, you're different. I'm not different. There's a lot of guys like me. So
Let me ask you this. Should Black people give the average white man, knowing the history of white men, the benefit of the doubt that we can trust you with our lives, with our economies? And let me put it in yours. Let's say if we reverse this role. There's this movie coming out called Crackers. And literally, it's the different movie where the slave master, I know it's really called Crackers. The slave master is Black and the slave is white, and they get a lot of stuff happen to them. So if the roles were reversed, Chad, just if you can empathize and be me for a second. If you were me and I was you, would you give me the benefit of the doubt that with the history that you've had, that I should trust you to do something differently than what you've always done? Would you give me?
Oh, I'm sorry, Chad. If you're trying to be better.
No, that's Chad. That's Chad. We'll come back to
I'll answer the question. And it's what you're putting me as a representative.
Yes.
As me myself, absolutely. As me, a politician or a leader or somebody who has an agenda that might not be in your best interest, absolutely not. And that's the problem that we have right now. We have a lot of elected officials, people in power, people making decisions that say they empathize and that they care, but they go back and they do what's in their best interest. And that's not the majority of us. The majority
of us, Charlotte.
Equality.
I was just going to say, if you're trying to be better, if it was reversed, Dwayne, and I was to be your slave, how would you treat me?
First of all, can you cook? I tell you, can you cook?
I do. I do.
Let's go back to the slave question then. Let's keep going.
I can cook and clean for you. I mean, but what I'm saying is that if it was reversed, I would only hope I would get somebody that would treat me good. You know, I would hope that with what they learned from the past, that the future would be better. If I'm trying to say that as good as I can, that maybe with the horrid past that they had to go through, and if it was reversed, they would say, you know what, let's try to make this better. I mean, maybe I know I'm living in the.
No, that's one reason why, Charlotte, I really wanted you to say yes to this panel. Because your heart, honestly, your heart, if all Americans had your heart, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
We wouldn't.
The fact of the matter is most of us don't. And honestly, I don't. So even to answer your question and to answer the question I said, I wouldn't trust it because it's like, wait a minute, I just know too much history. And
would you treat your white person bad?
No,
I don't want to be your slave.
No. Okay. So to answer that, I would not, because I was raised to treat people fairly and to be fair to all people, and everyone is a human being, and to treat them that way. So I would treat people that way, but I wouldn't have the trust with 400 years of history, the lynchings of the Klan, of the this, of the that, of the end of this. I would not trust that if I had to reverse it out, because I just have too many facts to say, you have to show me. And to Chad's point, he'd have to keep showing me. And Chad may say, I'm tired of showing you. I've shown you so much, already.
And again, with what Sarah said earlier, a lot of this was not taught in school, was not taught. We only know it now because we can actually look back. Dwayne, I've actually looked back at some of your stuff that you showed me. Never knew some of the stuff was all original from Africa until I read it. You know, so we was not taught this in school. It was a short version.
That's
you know,
something.
I mean, we're learning. We're just now learning. At my age of 52, I'm just now learning.
Let me ask you this: how do you feel about that? That
I feel we was cheated.
Okay.
I feel cheated. I feel that we was cheated of not knowing the facts. I feel like even the any kid that went to school, any racial or whatever, his religion or whatever, we was all cheated because it was not taught.
But the good thing is that at the age of 52, you are willing and able to open your mind to understand and listen to those facts now. Yeah, you didn't get them coming up like we should, but the fact that you're open and willing to listen to it now, it makes you better than so many other people out there because they ain't even gonna hear it. Closed minds do not come with closed mouths and open ears.
That's the only thing I wanted to say was, you know, just keep an open mind on everything and, you know, try to learn, you know, try to, because I haven't had the history that y'all have on this panel. I don't know nothing about gangs or nothing, you know.
No,
and
I'm white.
I've lived a
I
sheltered
don't even
life.
give them the benefit of the doubt.
You know, so I live a sheltered life, obviously, and I don't know nothing until I read it. Then you have to double check everything and recheck it. But I mean, I am learning.
Man, Dana, and then we're going right to Jefferson.
So I kind of want to go back to this question that white man is getting frustrated because they say everything we do isn't good enough. But Chad, would you be willing just to answer yes or no? Have you personally been physically assaulted, abused, beaten up, misused, oppressed, or anything negative by a black man?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't include me, Chad. Do not include me.
Especially Dwayne.
Now when
in the military, sometimes it's a different way. And sometimes the senior black guy doesn't like the junior white guy. You got to show him who's boss. And it happens.
Yep. But physically beaten up or physically harmed when out in the world, out in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why I ask some of this is because white man wants to say these certain things, but why would you be afraid or anybody be afraid of a black man that comes to your door versus a white man? Because we've been instilled that black men and women are born monsters. That's why back when you look at the Willie Lynch letters, they were called wild horses and they needed to be tamed.
But you don't even have to go back to the Willie Lynch letter because Chad just said when the big black guy came to his job, he's the one that had to go to the door because they're like, what the hell?
Right. And they're fear-based out of what? What our society teaches us, that black men by nature are monsters. But
that wasn't the society that taught us. It was the last 3 months of watching all this stuff on TV where there's some very dangerous things happening.
So
Chad, you saying the last 3 months taught you that?
That's not true.
No, I'm just saying that's what escalated everything. If that had happened 4 months ago, a totally different thing.
So this
I absolutely disagree.
You were at the office.
This goes back to my point. White man hasn't changed. Because my attitude has changed that I don't see what's happening as monster black people. I see this thing as monster white people that have never acknowledged our evilness to change our current monsterness. We think that all white people are born good. When a white boy goes into a school and blows up and kills 16 students, the first thing white people ask is, who did not see the signs that somebody in society or in the family failed?
Yeah. Who else's fault was it? Not the shooter. Who else
that caused this white man to do this? But when we see a black man, 9 out of 10, we think he's a monster. That's why we shoot and kill him.
He's a thug.
He's a thug. He's this. So that's my whole thing. And that's why, we said at the beginning, that this is based out of what do you fear? I believe that white, especially white evangelicalism, which is kind of in the blood of this nation, we have to be honest with ourselves, because the Bible says you will reap what you sow. The Bible also says that those who lead into captivity will be taken, and those who live by the sword will die by it. So we as white Americans, and those of us that are Christians, if we're saying we're going to attack these other countries to maintain our power, then I don't believe that we believe God gave this to us. Because I believe that when God gives me something, I trust God to keep that something with me. And if that something is taken from me, then I must look at my relationship with God and say, why was this taken from me, Father? It might be because I took it in the wrong way. It might be because he's teaching me a lesson. It might be because I'm reaping the consequences of my forefathers. So I believe there's an innate fear. And if you're a believer of the Bible, you will reap what you sow, even to the third and fourth generation. So
if that's true, Dana, and I do believe the Bible, why are evangelicals so
racist?
Racist, yeah.
Because the way we took power was through guns and oppression. And we know that we're going to lose it the same way. And because if God gave us this country, why are we fearing anybody to take it from us? Instead of going and getting my guns, I'm going to go hit my knees and say, Father, if things are turning up, is there something that I need to see that I might not be doing right? Because if you gave me this, if the Lord gave me a car and all of a sudden the car is not working, I might need to look at that and say, okay, I forgot to put oil in it, or I forgot to do this. But if I stole that car and took it wrongfully, back in my mind, I might be thinking, well, you know what, Dana? You really didn't take this car the way that you claim to be living your life.
Give it to you.
So I believe innately white.
All right, Dana, you got to wrap it up now. You're doing the Julie Long on me.
I am. They are aware of the Bible. And they know that when you live evil in our past, and that's why we want to do this, thinking we don't have to take responsibility.
So then are evangelicals hiding behind the Bible instead of living the Bible?
They always have. That's why they created the Black Slave Bible.
Got it.
Right.
Hey, quick question for you. You mentioned the last few months is when you saw, I think, the biggest scariness of Black people. Did I get that right? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth. You said the last few months you saw a lot of scary.
It's not just me. It's just the environment I work in. Is that there's a lot of people that are nervous because of the demonstrations, the violence, and they're always paranoid that it's going to come visit us at some level.
And when you say us in our neighborhoods,
what's that?
When you say visit us in your neighborhoods, or
this is
he's talking about the aviation.
Yeah, this is just at work in my office. It's just. That was the concern, is that if somebody was gonna find out what it was, they wanted it to be me and not put somebody else in harm's way should that person not belong there. And again, got it.
Now let me ask you this question. I want to flip it just a little bit because we're talking about white supremacy, right? So if you look at like Portland and other places, the majority of the people looting and destroying are white. They're not Black people. Black people. We get
law enforcement.
But wait, here we had 67 out of 83 arrests that were busting our windows out at the DMV, spray painting Black Lives Matters, cops are pigs, blah, 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 all over the PD and Grand Rapids. 67 out of 83 of them were white, not even from Michigan. They were planted here.
That kind of makes you ask, what else is going on?
Well, I'm saying it's them Americans behind it. That's
you don't know. You don't know.
Comes from the top down.
BLM. Everybody's got a theory, but it's not the people they say they're representing, because the people they're representing probably don't want that kind of attention.
Yeah, the
exactly.
black people
We
don't
got
want their neighborhoods
the
put up like
black
that. Definitely
community.
not by outsiders.
The
It
black
really-
community was standing in front of them trying to stop them. The black community was saying, why are you doing this? This is black owned business. Why are you doing this? Why are you hurting our people? What did they do to you? What do you have to do with it? It's one thing to be an ally. It's a whole nother thing to be an antagonist.
I'm
See,
not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying
Marianne,
there's other things afoot. It's evil.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with the black community on that because I saw black people saying, why are you doing this? Like I saw a white guy in all black, bursting windows out of AutoZone. And I saw people talking to him. Here's why white supremacy is so powerful, right? If I was
because they'll put their hands on somebody.
Wait, hold on. If I was a black guy doing that, they would have whooped my black behind at that AutoZone. White supremacy is so powerful that it says, yo, this dude is white. I'm not going to even stop him from destroying my neighborhood because he is white. If it was me,
I'm barely going to talk to him.
He stomped me.
And that's the thing. That's the problem. That's why everybody's like, let me beat down the black people. Let me beat down the brown people because they ain't going to put their hands back up. Well, guess what? You got people that are going to put their hands on there for you. We got you for you. Okay. Y'all don't have to do it. And if you don't want to, if you want to be the bigger person, be the better person, turn the other cheek and all that stuff. That's the problem. Not the problem. Okay. Y'all just better people than we are. But the problem with that is that when you turn the other cheek and you try to talk it out and be civil with the conversation and elevate it to another level, the problem is these are the Neanderthals that only understand clubbing you over the head and dragging you off by the hair. So sometimes violence do got to come out because that's the only way to get through to them is to put them through a wall. But when somebody's coming out there and trying to do violence and defacing property and damaging property on your behalf to try and say it was y'all, no, no, you need to stop them and hey.
It comes from the top down.
If black people were as scary and violent as white people try to say they are, it would be no white people left.
So we have a question from.
Thank you, Jefferson.
We have a question for Chad and a statement for Chad. But I feel Laura was about to say something about from the top down, but I want to respect her to let her say words.
Yeah, it comes from the top down because, even was 2017, the Charlottesville rally, where somebody decided to drive their vehicle into a crowd and kill a girl. Where was the condemnation from the very top? How many days did that take?
It took.
So you go back to that "Make America Great Again." Make America.
There's good people on both sides.
Yeah, there's good people. There was no condemnation. That's just a cop out. That was BS. So if we had true leadership, they would have never said there was good people on both sides. It would have been, this is a bad thing and it should never happen.
But we already confirmed that 20%, and I bet you these 20% are 100% of these 20% are Donald Trump voters.
Yeah. You can't say that it's just been within the last 3 months because it's been happening since, actually 2016.
Yeah. So
at least.
Let me direct the question that was asked on Facebook. So someone had a statement that said, Chad, don't be afraid. We're not here to hurt you. I think that was a reference.
Get your guns, Chad!
It said, don't be afraid,
I appreciate
Chad.
that. I really do. I feel on an island sometimes.
You are on an island.
But another person had a question for you, Chad. Brenda Harvey asks, is Chad, due to the many times white people have looted and burned because of loss of football games, etc., afraid of young white people? So are you afraid of young white people who burned and looted just because they lost a football game?
They're just playing.
I'm not sure I know the question. Am I afraid of those people? No, I'm not afraid of those people. I'm not afraid of anyone that would do something like that, regardless of color. I think it's wrong. I think it's criminal. I think it's stupid. I think it's one of the reasons I don't attend a lot of those events, just because I don't want to deal with the silliness that a mob mentality has. And I make the personal choice. And it's no, so whether they're black, white, yellow, otherwise, and I've been in a lot of other countries where a lot of folks gathered together is a very bad thing. And again, it's part of why I avoid those things, because you lose control when there's that many people and there's just you.
And I think what Brenda's saying is when the white kids loot and burn, they're not criminalized.
They're overhyped.
They're not
overhyped.
Didn't Marianne just say that the majority of the people that just got arrested were white?
Yes, I heard
that. How is that saying that the white people didn't get punished more than the black
No.
people?
No.
Let me try. Hold on, Marianne. Because if it was black people, you probably would have saw it all over the news. It probably would have been repeated. It was like, okay, we're going to arrest them. They probably got out the next day. They probably didn't get handcuffs too tight on them. They probably didn't get the head hit on the car like our president asked the police to do. So that's what I mean when I say criminalized. So when the white folk riot, it's like these rambunctious kids. Even the language that's used on the media is very different. So that's
I think the undertone of the question is also saying that when white people riot and loot is for trivial reasons, but when black people are protesting or riot or loot is because of a systematic issue. So I see a lot on social media the comparison that a couple of months ago, a lot of white people stormed their state capitol with guns and they were protesting because they couldn't get a haircut, right? And they're saying there's a difference between the protest because I can't get a haircut and a protest because Black lives are being killed. So I think, and if Brenda correct me if I'm wrong, the undertone in the question is that, there's looting in the white community, in the Black community, but in the white community is always for something trivial. In the Black community is because we're literally protesting for our lives.
In Lansing, our state capital.
Are you asking a question or are you telling me what the answer is?
No, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that they're equally evil, equally bad. I think those guys that took the guns up to the state house, that was ridiculous. I mean, yeah, you got attention, but it's the wrong kind of attention. It's unnecessary. And anytime you bring guns to something like that, even like we saw accidents happen, you get the wrong kind of attention. That is not the way to go about making change. That's the way to go about making bigger problems. And I'm just telling you from a guy's it never turns out well.
I think Chad is going to confirm that's what she was asking. She confirmed that's exactly what she was asking.
Well,
go ahead, DB.
Nice. No, I think Chad is consistent. He's a military man. He's about order. He's about America, not the internal foolishness that happens in America, but he wants America to be seen as a supreme or superpower. I'm assuming he wants it to be seen as justice, as democracy. Am I right, Chad? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth, because I know that's what we're doing with white guys. We're putting words in your mouth.
And it is. And superpower is a misnomer too. It should be leadership. We should be leading the world on how to do things right, instead of showing them how absolutely ridiculous we can act towards each other. And the rest of the world's looking at us like, why are you doing this? You have all these things, you have all these opportunities, and you're ruining them just because y'all can't get along. They look, I'm telling you from a guy that spends time in Europe, they look at us like, you guys are ridiculous. Why are you acting like this? You guys have everything and you're still acting like this.
How is the world looking at us now? How does the world see us now, Chad?
No, and they don't look at us as black and white. They look at it as a bunch of Americans that are acting ridiculous.
But that's
so the world doesn't see black, white, Hispanic, and all of this. They see
Americans are acting ridiculous.
And so they see America now as the land of the free or the land of the what?
Yeah, the second one.
What?
Okay.
So then this goes back to what I'm saying. If we're tired of the world looking at us right now that we're ridiculous, then why don't we as white people admit to why we're in a ridiculous situation? It's because of our racism. The number one thing, we already know that most people think and believe the protests and the riots were done by white people or black people. But the truth of the fact, by statistics, that's not true. So right there shows our bias and racism, because not only are we not calling out the truth, we're hiding it by not making it known, and so.
Then,
yes.
Are you mad that you're a white man?
I'm ashamed of my white people's inability to acknowledge our sin and repent. And that's only what my black brothers and sisters want us to do. Tybo, I believe that was his name, he knelt during the national anthem in protest of abortion. Christians gathered around him and thought he was a hero. Kaepernick kneels and he's called an SOB. Explain to me the difference.
Okay. So I think, guys, I don't know if y'all know this or not. This is the longest conversation with DB we've ever had in the history of the planet Earth. It's been
it ain't over.
hours. So I just want to do one thing. Huh?
I told you we were gonna need more.
You did.
We're gonna need a series.
I told Beata when she had 45 minutes, I said, yo, B, this is not going to, I said, Dana and Julie are going to talk 45 minutes themselves. But I want to do this because in 2016, I did a poll on my page and I asked, who do you think is going to win, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? And literally overwhelmingly, the white folk on my page put Donald Trump. And my black friends called me all kinds of names, Uncle Tom, this, why would you do that? I said, we're not listening to white folk. We're not listening to the majority of the people who vote in this country. So even if 100% of the black people voted for one candidate, if all the white people decided we want something else, that's where it's going to go. So we have to understand what white people are thinking, period.
But a lot of people didn't understand where she was coming from either. Nobody wanted Hillary over here ignoring our troops and letting people die on purpose when she knew about it. Nobody wanted any of that. Nobody wanted all these suicides and car breaks that didn't work. And, ooh, I didn't feel good today. All them deaths. Nobody wanted 800 plus deaths. Okay, nobody wanted that. Trump might be dumb as a box of rocks, but he's good to our cops and he's good to our vets. He
I
don't
was
know when
never
to shut his
told or
mouth, and
asked.
his mama needs to take his phone.
No.
I was never polled or asked who I was going to vote for.
You were not on my page, but I totally did it. Well, guess what? We get ready to do it now.
Personally, I was never asked who was I voting for, or none of my friends. They kind of forgot us over here in Georgia.
Everybody knows who I'm voting for.
I bet you people are not forgetting Georgia anymore. So
I bet they are not. I bet they are not.
Here's the first question. How many of you voted for President Obama? Just raise your hand or don't raise your hand. President Obama. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 8. Okay, cool. Almost about 65, 70%. How many of you voted for Trump?
I did.
So we got, okay, almost the same opposite. Okay. How many of you voted for Trump the first time, and based on what you're seeing, think Trump is still the best candidate?
Well,
okay, I'm still voting for him.
Yeah, I am too. Just because
I'm voting for him. I'm not.
Horrible choice.
I'm not. Oh my God.
The lesser of two evils.
Yeah, it is the same thing. It was the lesser of two evils again.
That's the problem. We don't have.
You think Trump is the lesser of two evils?
Yes.
I'd vote for a rock before I voted for him.
Okay, so we're getting ready to take a vote. Tawnya Lee, Trump or no Trump?
Oh, no Trump. No.
Okay, I'm going to ask a different question. Trump, Biden, or I'm not voting, because what was the guy's name who was the Secretary of State that wrote the book about Trump and said he would not even vote for anyone?
Oh, John Bolton.
Yeah.
So we have three different voter classes in America. We have either we're voting for Trump, we're voting for Biden, or we're saying we're not voting at all, or we vote for, I don't even want to say Kanye West's name, because if anybody on here say you vote for Kanye West,
well, he can put his name on there.
All right, so Tawnya, Trump, Biden, or
Who
no?
am I voting for?
Yeah,
I'm voting for Biden. Oh, I'm voting for Biden.
Biden.
Not crazy about it, but
Trump again.
Trump. Okay. Julie.
Biden.
Sarah.
Biden.
Dana. And don't tell us Jesus.
I'm not. What I'm saying though is I'm not voting for anybody, because greater than the politics or parties, I believe that we're at a season where the justice of God is coming. So it doesn't matter who's going to be in power. White America is going to reap what we've sown. So I'm not voting for anybody, because I know God's got different plans for this country.
Okay. All right. So we got BTBB, none. Marianne.
Who's going to be Biden's vice president, did they say?
Not yet.
He's announcing it next week.
If he announces that one of the Obamas are going to be with him, then I'll choose him, because somebody will keep him straight.
Otherwise, I'm not voting for anybody because I cannot, in good conscience, bring myself to support either one of them single-handedly.
Okay, so you're saying if Rice, who was in Obama's administration, runs with Biden, you'll vote for Biden. What about a Kamala Harris? What about a Kamala Harris who wasn't Obama's administration?
No, I'm saying if Michelle or Barack is his VP, I will vote for him.
Love to see that.
So that
would be a dream.
Actual Obama.
Yes.
Okay. So you're not voting at all. Got it.
I want to write in Mad Dog Matisse. That's what I want. I want General Matisse to be in there.
More likely
Charlotte.
to pay more Republicans for that.
Charlotte.
Trump.
Okay. Laura.
Well, my original choice was Pete Buttigieg, but I'm definitely voting Democrat. I'm riding with Biden.
Okay. So check this out, ladies and gentlemen. All of America, you heard it right here first. This is how it's going down. We have
Mad Dog 2020.
But listen though, this is interesting. So we have 4 people for Biden. We have 2 people for Trump. And then we have 3 people for none, right? Which means, let's look at this. Hold on. Oh, I love this stuff.
If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Correct. But it means that the race is still too close to call because white America is saying Biden for, Trump 2, but those 3 undecideds, anything can happen between today, other than Dana. Dana going for Jesus straight through, so he ain't going. But if 2 of the 3 say I'm voting for Trump, then it's 4-4. You see what I'm saying? So now it really is going to be the Black and Hispanic vote really will determine who the president of the United States of America will be, because the white vote is split enough that it's almost going to be about 50-50, kind of like it was the last time. So this means that Hispanics and Blacks, they will determine who and I always thought Hispanic and Blacks will never, but when white people are split, then that other percentage of the population will determine it. So Black people can either sit home and elect Donald Trump, or they can go to the polls and not elect Donald Trump, or Hispanic people can either sit home and not elect Donald Trump, or sit home and go and elect Donald Trump. So this is interesting. This is very interesting.
Dwayne, can I hop in and propose a topic for next time we talk about the voting system?
Seems like we need another topic.
How it's, designed to not allow working class people to go and vote, and the whole states, and like who's doing mail-in ballots and who's not, and why.
College.
And just go, yeah.
Electoral college.
How do you get into that? Like
choice voting.
So Sarah,
technically Hillary won.
Well, here's another thing. A lot of people might tell you they vote one way, but when you go in there, it's private. Nobody's business. And a lot of people might not have wanted Hillary, a woman, as a first president, and they told you a lie and then went there and voted Trump.
Let me ask you this, Charlotte. Do you think that a lot of people, because I hear a lot of women saying, particularly white women, like, I don't think we're ready for a woman president.
We're not. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to agree with that.
I think we are.
We're too emotional.
Yeah.
We're too emotional. Okay, y'all don't have to agree with me.
That just
I'm
hurts
one
my
person
heart.
on this
Hey, Julie's about to fall. She's about to grab her pearls. Okay.
She grabbed their pearls. I'm telling you.
I'm a Capricorn.
A man should be a man should be in charge. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not. My way of thinking.
We need a Black woman for president.
And that's fine. I'm just saying nobody was ready yet for a woman president. And people lied when they went in their poll. I mean, they lied and said, yes, I'm voting for her. But when they went in there and voted, they voted for Trump.
You know what? I believe.
But then everybody wants to say, no, it wasn't me.
3 million people more voted for Hillary.
Yeah.
Hillary won by over 3 million votes.
Yeah, unfortunately, they only voted for her because she did not have a thumbstick between her legs. That is the only reason. They didn't vote for her because she had good stuff going on. They voted for her because she wasn't a dude.
Somebody said,
I
"Oh, let me
voted
wake up
for it because
today."
she wasn't Trump.
I don't know. I believe, like
So,
Dwayne said, a lot of white women get
some women will vote for a woman just because she is a woman.
Yes,
No.
I know plenty of them.
Well, but
I believe that. I believe that.
And there's plenty like Charlotte too who believe the women should not be in power.
Yeah.
So I don't
But
think that's
every
the biggest
behind every
problem.
man, behind every good man is a good woman. Just saying.
Look where
Or
it's
their
going. Country. Maybe a woman needs to be in front of a man.
Or like me, I just.
I don't know. I don't know. When you go to war, I believe a man should be one.
Dwayne, this.
I'd rather have a mama bear.
If we go to war, a woman would finish it in about 3 seconds.
That is true.
Right? You'd find everybody that was hiding. Trust
Hey,
me.
Jefferson,
you have your next topic.
1 week out of the month.
I'm just kind of saying this. I'm not picking on you, Charlotte.
Go ahead.
That is the result of what we as white evangelicals have been taught through the church, that white man should be in charge because they're more stable. And I believe that until I looked at the wars in this country, and none of them were started by a woman.
Well, I know, and I understand that, but I am old church. I am very old Baptist church. And
hey, Charlotte, you ain't changed it, girl.
I've been married for 33, 35 some odd years to the same man.
To the
We have
same
an
man.
awesome family.
You go,
And
girl.
it's because we work together.
Yeah, we're not even going to sit here and try to change it, Charlotte. So,
Thank you.
So, Sarah, are you interested in having a conversation about voting? This is why I asked that question. A friend of mine, who's an amazing person, Joe Biden tapped her to be the senior advisor for the state of Florida for his campaign, Karen Andre. Amazing person. We went to college together, etc. And I'm asked her and another friend of mine, Teresa Haley, who's the president of the NAACP in the state of Illinois. And I'm going to have a voting thing. Are you interested in talking about voting and all of that stuff? Is that your forte?
I would be the kid eating paste in the corner, but I'm just starting to learn about it. And I do think it's important. And I think, we do need to look into, again, the systemic racism that's built into the voting system and figure out how, we have in Palm Beach County, we have supervisor of elections is one of the seats up for grabs on the 18th. So just looking at the different places and how we can help, because I think it's actually been said, Republicans, have said, if we have more people vote, there's never going to be a Republican in an authoritative position again. Right. I think Trump actually said it during one of his press conferences. So, but it's about, I think, and this is really the thing. That
he said if more people vote, Republicans will never win. So then the opposite of that is then you have to suppress the vote so Republicans.
Right, exactly. Right. So, but this goes back to, again, the thing is, if you have that swing and you have only Democratic people in power, then it's to me, it's also just as divided of a system as it is now. And that goes back to something earlier that I think Tawnya probably wanted to chime in on, that I think Dana probably brought up, that was the whole system is about divisiveness now. It's us versus them. It's where's the common enemy? What can we center around that is a natural divider that we can all see? And that's, I think, one reason why racism has popped up. And that's why we're in this big, huge flow right now where everyone is paying attention to it. And it's not about unity. It's not about what brings us together. It's not about common shared values. It's about what can we be divided on. And I think it goes back to we've forgotten how to listen. And so that's why I also wanted to say thank you so much for bringing this forum here and having us get together, because, then again, see, mind mulling, cogs turning, that's the reason why I think a lot of Black people have resorted to protests, because they don't feel heard. And so what do? You've tried having that conversation so many times and nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. So then you have to resort to more extreme behavior to try to be heard. And so I think that's a huge issue. And it's not even hearing people, it's listening, it's understanding, it's seeking to understand. And I think that is the thing that is slightly different now, is that I think a lot of white people are starting to crack through, where we do have to seek to understand and acknowledge that we don't understand. And so I think that is something that gives me a lot of hope for, yes, this has been, as Dana very sadly said, like, this hasn't changed. And, people see this as just like another run of the mill kind of thing. But I think there's a start where people are going to start engaging in those conversations. They're going to seek to learn. They're going to seek to understand. And so, I really hope that we can come together and listen and again, learn and then transform. But going back to voting things, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough, but I will happily find you the people who I've listened to who are and try to connect you with them so that they can have a beautiful, intelligent conversation. I want to sit in and be a fly on the wall. But
please do. And we'll have you to be the fly on the wall. You know what? I think that things, I know Jane Elliott, because she's seen so much, she's like, it's probably not going to change. But I think, Sarah, people like you, Generation X, and then this Generation Z, I think you guys, if it's going to change, I think it's your generation that's going to do it. My generation and above, we're just not going to, because whatever it is, we've been seeing too much. We have the same old beliefs. We wanted to change, but at this point, we're not getting out there marching and doing all that stuff. We're tired, we old, Julie's bones hurt and all that stuff. So we're not gonna do all of that. So kudos and attaboys to you guys. Listen, we are way over time. Tawnya Lee, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You didn't talk a lot tonight, but when you did, it was very impactful. Chad, the white man, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for standing in. I know, let me just say this too. Before we had this conversation, Chad and I, because Dana was going at it, as y'all see, Dana's a different kind of white guy, right? So clearly he's a different kind of white guy. And Dana made a statement and I backed it up and said, I agree. And Chad went in on me and he went on me and we were arguing literally back and forth. He said, I will never follow you again. You la 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 la. I said, you hypocrite. And I went back in on him. I said, interesting. You know, conveniently. And so what we did is we both realized, we're doing the same things that the same far right wing and the far left wing people are doing. We're not listening to each other. We don't want to hear each other because we'd rather fight it out than talk it out and discuss it. And then he had his moment, I had my moment, and we were able to say, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with everything you're saying, but I'm okay with disagreeing with some things, but we can still see each other as men and be respectful. So Chad, I want to say I honor you for that because that was huge. You did not have to, and I did not have to. And so, Julie, for anyone who wants to know about these bracelets, Julie is the woman who made these beautiful things and sent them to me. So find
Julia, those are beautiful.
I'm telling you, man, they're wonderful. And she does that. Thank you, Julie. Your intellect is wonderful. Sarah, absolutely love you. Love you very much.
You was awesome.
Yeah, Dana, thank you, brother. I appreciate. Oh, man, I don't know what you got. I want to find those black guys who kick your behind, and I want to thank them. It's not racism, but they set you on a new path that
I'm grateful for it.
Destined for you. Charlotte, you are the heart of the group. Thank you so much. Whether you vote for Donald Trump or not, that's absolutely business. I still love you anyway. I'm definitely not going to vote for him, but I respect you and I respect your heart. Laura, you tell Big Black Charles that we said for letting you spend so much time with us, because I know he's like, are those people still talking? Who's that black?
No, my husband's afraid to eat.
Marianne, I appreciate you. It's good to know that we have warriors out here who will help us fight our cause and all of this good stuff. So Donald Trump said that those guys that were standing behind him were his blacks. So you guys are my whites. You're my white.
Everybody needs to watch.
You're Caucasians.
Yeah, we have to do something again. If you guys have a topic, let me know and we can do it again. Jefferson, I've gotten texts already. Jefferson was on his A game. He brought it, blah, blah, blah. You like the unsung, the song hero. We appreciate
it. Mr. Jefferson.
Yes, thank you for all the wonderful introductions.
I just have to say, she is so damn adorable. I cannot with her. I want to eat her up. She's just a lovable.
Oh.
I swear, little Georgia Peach.
Oh, Charlotte?
Yeah.
She's
about the cutest.
So I learned a lot from y'all. Trust
you. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you guys. David, Brenda, Ray, and everyone else, thank you so much for your questions. Also, if you're on YouTube, I never like advertising stuff, but I'm trying to start to do things on YouTube. So go to YouTube, and I think I need to ask you to like and subscribe, Dwayne Bryant on YouTube. Please do that, because I got to up my numbers, because that stuff is just ridiculous.
We can up your numbers for you.
So I appreciate that. Jefferson, any last final thoughts?
Just thank you. You all are brave. We had a great, courageous conversation, and I pray that we continue to take this conversation not only on Facebook, but let's bring it to our dinner tables as well. Let's speak with our family and friends, because this conversation is too important to be left only on Facebook. And so I want to reiterate what Dwayne said about going on his YouTube page. I encourage you to go on his YouTube page and subscribe and like the videos, because he has amazing content, not only on this subject of race relations in America, but also with his mentorship, also with his motivation, also with his inspiration. And so I encourage you to go on his YouTube page and like it as well. I already put the video in the Facebook chat, but I encourage you to go back in the chat. Dwayne, don't get mad at me. 38 seconds. I'm gonna play the video again. 38 seconds.
Hey, we're not gonna be here. We're gonna leave you.
Dwayne Bryant.
Hey, Dwayne Bryant, Innovation International. Dwayne Bryant, this is someone everyone should know. It's another great speaker, workshop trainer, conference presenter, town hall moderator, TV host, MC, fundraiser, articulate and passionate, youth educator.
Thank you all so much for joining. God bless you all. We pray that you will have a wonderful evening. Thank you, DB. You are amazing. You did a phenomenal job.
Hey, we only got through this many questions, and I had 3 pages of
3 pages
again.
3 pages. Now we got to have the next 6 months straight. We're gonna have one of these every week with the white people. Come on.
Once a month.
Once a month. Okay.
All right.
So
all
the next 2 years.
God bless you all. Thank you all so much, Facebook. Have a wonderful day. See you.